Hello, everybody, and welcome. As you can see, I have a special guest here with me today. This is Crime Curious. Her name is Jennifer. She is a writer and an author. I'll give you a little bit of information on her before we jump into it so you know who we got with us today. So, Jennifer studied at the University of Colorado in rhetoric and writing. She wrote weekly columns in the DGO magazine called The Yes and No about the legalization of marijuana in the United States. She's published several freelance articles, and today's article has a good chance of being featured in People's True Crime section on the website and in print. And she is in the works right now of publishing her first book, which is going to be called Crime Curious, the Colorado Case Files. She's been working on the book since 2018, and her biggest consultant is Lee Walters, private investigator and former special agent of the FBI. And this book will cover cases that a lot of us know. Mark Redwine, Chris Watch, Patrick Frazee, Barry Morphew, and Letecia Stauch. So, welcome, Crime Curious. So, with that, you're very welcome. So, with that, you guys, Jennifer was also in the courtroom for Letecia Stauch's last hearing. And we all seen, well, those of us who watched the WebEx seen a little bit of her antics that she is known for pulling, but we didn't see it all. And Jennifer was in the courtroom. So I'm going to start with asking you, Jennifer, when you were sitting in the courtroom and we were all waiting to see Letecia come in to the courtroom, there was a bit of a pause there for a good 40 minutes before we could start. Tell us what you know about or what you've overheard or, you know, from being right behind the defense. What did you observe happening?
Sure. Well, people were getting a little impatient, but at the same time, it's sort of expected because, rather than taking this, rather than treating this like a serious legal proceedings, Letecia tends to make it sort of a theatric production. So it wasn't surprising, but it was frustrating. When the deputy came in, she went directly to Letecia's two attorneys, and she says, "Are you Miss Stauch's attorneys?" And they said yes, but they had this look on their faces as if they had just gotten a phone call from the principal's office because oh, here we go. And the attorneys definitely did not want to be speaking to that deputy right there because everyone was glued, everyone that was there was glued to what they were saying, and it was hard not to hear it. And so basically what she told Letecia's attorneys, she said, she's not cooperating. We have a plan B and we have a plan C. Right now we're on plan B. And Will Cook asked if they being Will Cook and Josh Cellini, could go outside and speak to her, and try to get things where they need to be. He did not want to talk in front of us at all. So the deputy took him out there, and whatever plan B was, apparently worked with the assistance of her attorneys to get her into the courtroom. So when she finally does come into the courtroom, she walks over, and as she's sitting down, she kind of, it's almost like she's sedated, right? Mm-hmm. Which in my opinion was an act, but my opinion, doesn't matter.
Got to play the part.
Right. At first I thought, well, was plan B, did they drug her? But no, because that's one of the big differences between being housed at the state mental hospital and being housed at the jail or at a prison. In jails and prison, they cannot force medication upon you against your will. Mm-hmm. But at the mental hospital, they can.
Right.
So I knew that that wasn't it. But, the second she sat down, she wasn't bobbing, weaving, swaying. I mean, she just went right back to normal. Now, part of me wondered if what I was witnessing was a switch,
Mm-hmm.
whether real or imagined, whether true or false. Is that what I was supposed to see? Was the switching, the altering?
Like, is this like a show that she's putting on to kind of back what she's trying to project that she's not saying?
Right, right. And specifically with the dissociative identity disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it was real. I don't know if it was fake, but, I did witness a little bit of, the change between when she came in and when she sat down. And she did fine all the way through the hearing until Judge Werner reprimanded her about being late, causing the delay, which was
Mm-hmm.
her first outburst. But before that, what people on the WebEx couldn't see is that the moment he brought it up, she immediately turned to Will Cook, who was also off camera, and they were talking, they were whispering back and forth through what he was saying. And the judge finally paused,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "I need to make sure that I have your full attention."
Yeah,
And
like
then
pay
she
attention
and then
over
she
here.
looked at the judge and
Yeah, see,
allowed him to finish speaking.
yeah, because we couldn't see. The only part we could see is probably about her right shoulder, down her right arm. Unless she moved a little bit to the right, we couldn't really see what was going on to the left of her, right?
Right. Right.
So
So
that's where her others. So just so the viewers know, she had Tellini on one side, and the other lawyer that she has, Wilkes, is
Will
it
Cook. So
Wilker,
so you
on
could
the
see
left
Tellini
side
there.
of her.
So
We
you could
could
see
see
Tellini.
Tellini. We couldn't see. We could only see like one part of her shoulder and her arm. We couldn't see her other lawyer on the other side, or what was happening to the left of her. Because
Right.
as you're going to get into, there was a little bit more going on over there that we just had no idea was going on.
Right. So Will Cook was not sitting facing the same way that Letecia and Josh Tellini were. He was actually sitting on the end of
Like
the
facing
defense
towards the
table. Like,
prosecution.
correct. And then on that corner of the table between Will Cook and Letecia was the deputy. And
Okay.
that deputy was taking no crap.
Good, good. Well, we know what she did on her little journey back when she was extradited, right?
In
So I
Kansas.
think,
Right.
yeah, I think they're not going to take any chances with what she's gonna pull, and she's known to be pulling quite a few things. Not only there with trying to escape and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous.
So we just real quickly, Willow. So we jumped right in, but I need to make sure, I'm here in a professional capacity, independently, and freelance, of course, but still in a
Exactly.
professional capacity. And so I have to say, just to state it, that all defendants in the United States are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. So I'm not saying that she's guilty, but I think that I think it's important that I say that. And I also think it's important, especially for my writing process, that I have conversations like this one where I can work through, these 8 pages of notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you very much, but I had to say that for the record.
Yep, no problem whatsoever. And I think it's a given. As much
Right.
as we want her, you know, held accountable right now, as she has not been found guilty yet. So
No.
that's her right that she is innocent until proven guilty. And what we're giving is our opinions and our observations from what we see, right? These
Right.
are only our opinions.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so to
And
the
I,
left of her now, what did we miss when she has her other lawyer to the left of her that we could see none of that off camera? What did you observe there? What did you see going on there? Or
So there was very little movement. Everything was fine during the discussions, which, I'm sure we'll be getting into next, that
Mhm.
about the testing and the EEG and the
Yeah.
MRI and the doctor and so forth. Uh, everything was calm and respectful until that moment when the judge brought up the delay.
Yeah.
And once again said, that we're going to use all reasonable force necessary in order to secure your presence in the courtroom in a timely manner, which
Right.
he had
Which
said
he did.
before.
He did state that way back also.
Right.
He had stated months and months ago that when you have to be in court, there's some hearings that she can waive being there, that her lawyers can just go and represent her. But
Right.
when she is required to be in court, the judge made it quite clear way back then that you will be present, whether they've got to send the extraction team, whatever they've got to do within their legal rights to do to get her to court, and within reason to get her to court. That's what they were going to do. So she should have known that this was going to happen.
Right. Well, and so the first thing that she popped off at the judge was, I didn't refuse court. I refused to go without hygiene.
Right.
Her technicality, the way she said it was nasty, and it was like an arguing child, in my opinion. Of course, this is not how I write. It's just how I speak. In the writing.
This is raw, you guys. This is raw.
Right. There's a lot of editing that goes into what I should and should not say. But, I'm just talking with friends and writing an article. So, so she said, I did not refuse court. I refused to go without hygiene. And the judge, who had just said, and we'll leave it at that.
Right.
And then Letecia pops off with that.
Well, she needs the last word.
Right. And they just ignored it, and they continued on to scheduling. And at that point, Will Cook is kind of whispering with her again, while Tellini and Michael Allen and the judge schedule the next hearing, which is, by the way, October 13th at 1:30 p.m. Mountain.
Right.
And it should be available on WebEx. Real quick, I do want to throw out there that while I was in the courtroom, they were talking about somebody streaming the WebEx. So
now I don't know who that. I know I already got my reprimand, and it's like, take it down. Okay. Yeah. That would have been me, you guys.
Yeah. So listen, I was able to look at your recording before it was taken down, and it did benefit me quite a bit. However, major no, please don't do it again.
We will not be doing. See, I was told when I was given the link, because I couldn't get the link. I was given the link, and it's like, oh yeah, we're allowed to stream it. And it's like, okay, and then I didn't have anybody in the chat saying, Willow, what are you doing? So it's like, as far as I knew, we were allowed to. But yeah, when I got the notice afterwards, like, you need to take that down, it's like it was down right away. So
yeah, and
we won't be doing that again.
Right. And I'm certainly not a representative of the court or the attorneys or any of it. I can just tell you, what I heard, and also the repercussions. If they make it so that we can't access WebEx, then we'll be in a very more few Lori Vallow situation, where we won't even be able to have these kind of discussions, because there's the level of WebEx, which takes you right into the courtroom, so that you don't have to depend on what traditional media outlets cover. And just looking at this hearing from Thursday alone, what wasn't covered, which we'll get into. But if we didn't have the WebEx, I still would have been there, and I still would have caught it. But, having more than 100 people in that WebEx and getting that information is super valuable. And then when you couple that with just one more level of experience of the same thing, and then you start sharing, your perceptions of what happened from your angle and what happened from my angle. And, it's just so valuable. So it did benefit me that you did it, but I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose WebEx.
I got it. No need for more reprimand. Thank you.
Oh, no. I don't mean to reprimand you. It just worried me. Okay.
So once they're trying to now schedule her next hearing, which is October 13th. It's 1:30. It will be 3:30 Eastern. What I will be doing is what I was doing before. I will be watching the WebEx and telling my viewers what is going on as it's happening. So that's how I'm going to cover it again. So what did she pull? And you brought up another case, Lori Vallow. I've got more information on that case too, which is very interesting. I'm just going to get that out of the way before we jump back into this. There's new information that came out. There's 2 of the cases have now been removed from the information. So the 2220-0755 is gone, and the CR 2220-0838 is gone. Now, I know one of those is in regards to her not producing the kids. Mm-hmm. The other one, I'm not sure what that one was about. There's only the 2 cases now that are before the courts. The other 2, I don't know where they're gone, but they're now gone. I can't get any of those documents anymore. So thank God I have downloaded them all. But yeah, there's only the 2 cases. And there was a letter that was sent to Justice Mueller, who is in charge of all that division. And mm-hmm. It's from the lady who wants to intervene. And she, in that letter, which was not redacted, she gives information regarding sealed documents, why some documents were sealed. So there's information that's under seal that she put in that letter that should not have been visible to us, but now it is, because what's under seal is why they wanted Rob Wood and the other prosecutor removed from the case. Mm-hmm. There's information in there as to why, which should have not been posted. So I do have that downloaded, and that's something maybe I will do in another live, but I just wanted to put that out there since you did mention that case. Right. Okay, so going back to Letecia Stauch. They're in the process. They're trying to set this court date. What is Letecia doing?
So at that point, Letecia starts raising her volume. As you know, it started out with whispers with Will Cook, and then she raises her volume, and she says, I need hygiene when I'm in the courthouse, because apparently he wasn't, responding the way that she wanted him to, I guess, and so they're just trying to get through the scheduling so they can get that microphone muted, so that she's not allowed to continue to cause, a scene that distracts from what's actually happening in the courtroom. And then at that point, she turns to the deputy. Now, based on the volume of her voice, I have to assume that who she's really trying to convey this information to, about her constitutional rights being violated, is really those of us in the gallery who are there to report on it. Right. But there's a hard and fast rule about the defendant communicating directly with anybody in that courtroom. She can't do it. We can't do it.
Communicating with her.
Yeah, that's she can't do it. We can't do it. And so she was very careful not to make direct eye contact or face her body toward those of us who were in the courtroom.
Okay, so right there, I want to stop you on that point. Now, with that being said, with what you just said, when she is trying to play insanity, that she's not coherent enough, or she doesn't understand enough, or whatever she's going to try and use, I've got different personality, whatever her motive is and her means, in that moment, she knows she cannot address the people in the court. So she's going to direct that elsewhere. So this can actually be used against her, because she is showing that she understands what she can and cannot do. Mm-hmm. And she's manipulating that to be able to do what she wants to do, and just walk that very fine line. To me, that's not somebody who's not coherent in the head. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and we know what happens when she doesn't get her way. For example, when she went from public defenders to pro se, back to her public defenders, and then to private attorneys at state expense. The way she was able to pull that off was nothing short of spectacular. Right. But that takes calculated manipulation.
Right.
Right.
So, and we're going to get into all this, you guys, because Okay, so let's finish before we get into that, and I'll announce it before we start talking about it. So I kind of give them the basis for what we're gonna be talking about. So
Right. So
she's trying to address.
yeah. So first she snapped at the judge, and then she whispered to Will Cook, and then she snapped at Will Cook, and then she started snapping at the deputy. And when she was snapping at the deputy, things resolved fairly quickly. And in fact, she said something to the deputy. She said, "You can't refuse hygiene, and you can't refuse toilet paper." And then Letecia turned around and took a step as if she was just going to walk away from the deputy because she had made her point. And the deputy
Right.
says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You're not going anywhere." And then Letecia says, "I'm not going anywhere." But and then she reiterates with with the hygiene and the hygiene and the toilet paper. And then I think that's right about the point where the WebEx was muted, and she continued with the deputy at that time. And what she was talking about is apparently the air conditioner wasn't working in the transport van. And she was also talking about her experience at the last hearing, which was August 25th. And apparently, the same things were happening then. And you had mentioned at one point that you thought maybe she had dyed her hair black.
Yeah.
I don't think that she did. It was dirty and it was greasy, and she clearly hadn't had a shower for a while, and she definitely hadn't brushed it.
No, she's made aware that she was going to be in court today, that she was required to be in court today. So to me, the complaining, I think her biggest concern was, look at, you guys just came and got me. I didn't have a chance to have a shower, so I was presentable. But that's her own doing. She's made aware that, look at, tomorrow we're going to court. Like, get yourself ready because they're going to be here in the morning to pick you up. She is made aware of that, probably not only by her attorneys, but also by the COs. They would be telling her, look at, we're going to have you up probably a lot earlier. You have a court date and you are going to be going. She would have had enough time. But Letecia, in true fashion, she is going to dictate to not only the court, but obviously the lawyers and the COs and the police that got to transport her. It's going to be her way or the highway. I'm not going to go. And I don't think that, any other time, as the viewers will know, that she pulls a fit and then they just say, okay, you can go on WebEx. She doesn't have to go. So I think that she was kind of, it's not going to happen anymore. And it's like, I think that that's what she was expecting to happen. Right. And it just, no, I think her jig is up. And, but by doing what she is doing, she is showing that she has rational thinking because she knows that this is the law. I can't talk to the people in the audience there or in the gallery. So she's going to say it loud enough to this deputy. Right. And when she whispers to her lawyer, he probably said, enough, be quiet. Well, she wanted herself heard. She wants people, does she think that people are going to start petitions and, oh, poor Letecia, they're treating her badly. She's got constitutional rights. Like, I don't know what she was expecting from that, but I agree with you I think that was a show for the people in the gallery and that she's hoping that she gets some sympathy there and maybe somebody helps fight her battle for her.
Right. Well, remember, we're talking about the same person who went to fakepolygraph.com to give it to Nancy Grace's people at Crime Online.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's a lot of instances where she's going to have a hard time explaining away. Right. If you have a mental disorder or a mental problem, you don't have that type of thinking to be able to try and pull off what she's tried to pull off. Now, she didn't get caught because she did something, well, I can't say not wrong, but that she messed up trying to get these documents ready. She did it the right way. It's just she thought she was smarter than law enforcement. She thought people that I really believe that she thought she had people feeling sorry for her. So like, I'm going to put out this fake test and nobody's going to question me. And that's to me, that's more of a narcissistic personality disorder than anything else. It was very conniving, very well thought out, very manipulative.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
A
how
lot
do
of
you
different,
explain that? Yeah, and now she's trying to say that it's after the fact of what she did to Gannon that she lost her mind, or she became into a mental state that she didn't or couldn't understand what she was doing was wrong and stuff. But you rented a car, you went and got your car, then you moved the body, you then put it in a suitcase and took it to Florida. Very well thought out plans. So I think she's going to have a really hard time proving that she's not mentally competent. I think she's more or less trying to get everybody to believe that she didn't realize what she was doing, when there's no way you couldn't know exactly what you were doing with the amount of thought, the process, the planning, and the manipulation that went into that.
Sure. Well, and back to the hygiene and the toilet paper and the hot van. It's possible that her privileges were taken away. If she wants people to believe that she's crazy, and I'm not saying that she's not crazy, but if she's trying to get away with murder because she's crazy, there are going to be theatrics, and who knows how she's behaving in the jail, but I can't imagine it's well. And so if these things were taken away, in true Letecia fashion, she begins a story at the part where she was wronged.
Right.
She doesn't say what happened that led up to her losing the ability to go take a shower or have toilet paper, or what, who knows what's true. I'm just reporting on what I heard, and I have no way of verifying it other than, I can verify that I heard it come out of her mouth. That certainly doesn't make it true. And I think that's why everyone in the court was so comfortable just ignoring her, muting the mic. That's not infringing upon her due process rights.
Exactly.
Outbursts don't count.
Well, I mean, like you just stated, we don't know what happened at the jail. They could have had her in solitary confinement because of poor behavior. And if that's the case, then you lose a lot of privileges, including phone, visits, showering. You don't get a shower every day, maybe every second day instead of every day. You don't get outside time, but and it's true. We don't know what led up to her not being able to have a shower, because she would have been warned ahead of time. Tomorrow's your court date. Mm-hmm. So she knew that this court date was coming. There's no way that she didn't. So the only thing that we can speculate on is, why did she not have a shower? And it would be not off the wall to say she was probably in solitary confinement. We don't know that for sure, but that would be a good indicator that she didn't have a shower because of something like that, maybe privileges being taken away for some reason, maybe behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. But she won't tell us that part. So
No.
So with Letecia, I have this this vision of, people at a table trying to put a puzzle together, and they've got the frame of the puzzle is complete, and they're filling in the center pieces, right? And then here comes Letecia, and right out of the straitjacket, she dumps 100 puzzle pieces that don't even go to that puzzle, but looks like they might, right in the middle of the work, just to keep people off of her trail. And then she thinks I believe that she thinks that if she can confuse people enough, then that'll prove that they don't know what they're talking about. And, Letecia, there's a lot with her, and it is really interesting. Unfortunately, with her antics and shenanigans, it almost seems like Gannon frequently gets left out of the story, and that's frustrating.
Yeah. Okay, so with that now we know what happened at court that we didn't see. Right. Now, with all the subscribers that are in here right now, I'm going to let you guys know. This has been something that's been really bothering me since the first time I heard it in court, where she's had all these evaluations already. It's come back that she's sane. The defense challenges it. They get another evaluation. She comes back saying, they down the line, they challenge it again. And what really irked me was the last evaluation that she had done. Now, why that irks me is because when they were in court, she had initially pled not guilty. So she gets these evaluations done. They come back that she's sane. The defense then says, Your Honor, what we need, and I want to make it clear, Your Honor, why we're asking for this is not so we can come back and plead not guilty by reason of insanity, but we want to know what her mental state was after the fact, how her thought process was after the fact. That's all. We want to know about that. So he made it clear to the judge that this was not to change their plea, blah, blah, blah. And what happened was when that came back, they challenged it, had their own done again. And when that came back, they changed their plea from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, now that irked me. Now, the defense has asked that they want this other evaluation done. They don't want a state psychiatrist. They want to choose their own psychiatrist. And then we learned, and there was a lot of things that we didn't learn, but then we had learned that there was something about an EEG and an MRI. And it's like, to us that are just watching from the outside, it's like, well, that came out of left field. Mm-hmm. So then we wanted to know who this doctor was, and we didn't know. So the first time I found out who this doctor was when I seen Crime and Curious on Jules, Another Day in the Car, on her live the other night. And I went, oh, so I got the name of the doctor from there. And I decided that was it. I'm not sleeping tonight. I'm getting up and I'm going to start investigating, see what I can find out about this doctor. And when I did that, and I'm going to let you, Jennifer, go into more on her. I've got a few things here that I'm going to go over. Now, this doctor, she's world renowned. She's very controversial. Her theories have influenced Supreme Court rulings. She challenges conventional theories. She has interviewed people like the likes of Ted Bundy. Now, the thing with this is the controversial thing with her, and I don't know a lot about this, so I'm going to let you go in deep about it. But the reason why I believe, and this is only my opinion, she believes that there's other hidden reasons for why people could have some disorders that they claim to have. And this is why she wants this EEG and MRI done, because they feel that with the EEG and the MRI that it could provide some exculpatory evidence that finds Letecia not guilty by reason of insanity because of some kind of brain function or anomaly that she may have. So I'm going to leave it there with you to explain to the viewers what really that entails. What do you think about, number one, the doctor that they chose? Did they choose her because she is so non-conventional, and because of her theories that this is something that could be some kind of brain dysfunction from child abuse or paranoia, gives psychotic thinking? What do you think about this? And why do you think they chose this doctor?
Well, so first I want to go back to the last hearing, which was August 25th. During that hearing, it was obvious that the judge at that point still did not know who their doctor was that they wanted to complete the second evaluation. They knew that it was a female from out of state and that she wanted a 72-hour EEG and an MRI, but they did not know her identity, they being the prosecution nor the judge. And so the judge says on August 25th, he says, well, I'm going to need to know the identity of your doctor because I'm going to need to put in an order for state rate and state pay. Because normally a second sanity evaluation would, the judge thought, it would be paid for by the state. And Tellini's response to that was, basically, with all due respect, I don't need, the state's not going to pay. And he said, we. Now, I don't know if we means the defense or if we means the Office of Alternate Defense Counsel, which is who Tellini and Cook are consulting with on this case, because Tellini and Cook are not public defenders. They're private attorneys. And
right. But I do believe that because the judge appointed them, because to keep it on track, she had public defenders. She decided she wanted to be her own lawyer. Then she decided that probably wasn't a good idea. So she went back to the public defenders, but demanded different attorneys because she didn't want to work with the other ones. So she said, these are the attorneys that I wanted, which was one of them, Tellini, I believe, had been appointed to Letecia's case when she still had the previous public defenders as someone to help them because of the severity of the case. So she wanted Tellini and she didn't want the other two, and the judge appointed. So I would assume because she is indigent that the state is paying it anyway, because the state is going to be paying their salaries while they represent Letecia, right?
Right. Well, through the conflict hearing, the second conflict hearing, enough of a conflict was found with the public defenders that justified the private attorneys. And so when she had gone pro se, she had Tellini as her co-counsel,
Right.
so that he could advise her. But the whole point, and I don't even know that she really wanted to go pro se, but she that desperately did not want to work with these public defenders.
Or that was, just her way of getting rid of the public defenders.
Right. So there were all these technicalities. So with the first conflict hearing, she didn't get her way. And that's when she wrote a letter to Judge Bain, who was the one who oversaw the conflict hearing. And then she wrote another letter to Judge Werner. Now, the reason, I'm speculating, the reason why she would write a letter to Judge Werner, those conflict hearings are private and they're not supposed to be heard by prosecution or the judge.
Right.
They're supposed to be heard by an outside judge that can make the decision. But because she didn't get her way, she wrote a letter to Judge Werner and outlined her cause for conflict, and there were, 4 or 5 things that she believed were ethical conflicts. Now, the trick is, and the reason why I believe that she did that is because any direct communication with the judge becomes part of the public record. So Letecia wanted to make sure, because she didn't get her way, she wanted to make sure that she gave that information to the judge in writing, which would then be given to us in the court of public opinion so that everyone could hear her ideas of conflicts.
Yeah.
And then they had a second conflict hearing and she got her way.
Right.
So this is a very calculated woman, very calculated. Not to say that she shouldn't have gotten her way, but looking back, you can see how she works.
The way she went about it does not tell me that this is somebody who is incompetent. And that's probably why her results and everything from these evaluations have come back. That she is very competent. What she is doing is creating scenarios to make it look like she is incompetent, when what she's actually doing is showing her thought process and how manipulative and everything she can be to get what she wants. And I don't know how anybody would want to be in a relationship with this person, but I mean, she is very calculating, and that to me shows competency.
Right. Yeah. I mean that. So anyway, August 25th. Sorry, I'm sometimes not very linear, but I am on paper. So back to the hearing on August 25th. So the judge says, "Hey, I'm going to need to know who your doctor is." Tellini says, "No, you don't," and we move forward. And then and I remembered that from the August hearing. So Thursday for the September hearing, the judge mentioned the doctor's name. And he did it in a casual way. I understand why it was missed by everybody on the WebEx or in the courtroom, or, he did it in a casual way as if it was information we already had. But
I think a lot of us thought that it was one of the doctors, and that's why I brought this up.
big deal.
We'll
Yeah.
take a little pause because I want to show you this.
Oh, right. Okay.
I did hear this, but to me, it was like, okay, well, I've already got her name on the witness thing. So it went right over my head because, I mean, this isn't a case that I am going like you are. You're writing a book on this. You're doing all your investigations and everything on this. I've got so much going on the go that it didn't really, I should have caught it, but I didn't. So
Right.
these are the endorsements of the witnesses. And I remember seeing this, okay?
Mhm.
And these are all doctors and psychiatrists from the hospital. So that's why it didn't really fizz me. And I don't think it really fizzed anybody because they thought that he was just mentioning one of these doctors. There's one, Thomas Gray, expert in the field of forensic psychology, Loranda Torres, forensic psychology. And you see that they're all at the same hospital. So this has got to be from one of her evaluations. Now, if the defense brings up anything from this to use in their defense, the prosecution can then use it. Right now, they can't, right?
Well, what you're looking at are actually the doctors for the prosecution.
Right.
Right.
But what I'm saying is a lot of this is doctor-client privilege unless somebody brings up something like, I mean, not the evaluation itself. This is what was found. She's sane because of these reasons, whatever. The personal conversations and stuff like that is what I'm talking about that she's had with these doctors cannot be used unless the prosecution brings it in first, mentions it first. You know what I mean?
I guess so.
Like the personal conversations that she had with these doctors is a lot of that can't be used against her unless it is first brought in by the defense.
I don't know how many personal conversations she would have had. If it was part of the sanity evaluation, which is really the only reason she'd be speaking with them, it has to be audio and video recorded for the purpose of using it against her. And that's what the judge advised her. But that goes for that goes for all of
both
the doctors.
Sides.
If it's part of the evaluation, it can absolutely be used, even if it is the most private, intimate detail of a horrible thing that happened to her. It can be used by either side against her, whether that was with their doctors or the defense's doctor.
Right. But there was, I should have been better prepared. There was something else that was brought up, and I forget who it was that brought it up, that there was, and in true Letecia fashion, look at me, outside of scheduled sessions where she is video recorded and audio recorded in these sessions for her evaluation. Apparently, apparently it's going to come out. I don't know. I won't believe it until it comes out. But there was outside conversations outside of scheduled sessions where she spoke to somebody. Now, that's what I'm talking about, is those things cannot be used unless the defense brings them out first.
Okay, I'm with you
now. Right? So what I've heard now, like I said, until I can verify it all, what I've heard is there's some things that she said outside of the sessions that were not video recorded or whatever, that for the sessions themselves that was ordered. Some things that she said and did that have been spoken to the defense, and the defense is not happy that there's somebody out there that knows this information because they're worried about them bringing it out.
Right.
But in the same aspect, it can't be brought into court unless the defense brings it to the forefront. So if they go to the judge and say, Your Honor, this, and this, Letecia had a conversation with somebody outside these sessions, and this, and this, somebody's going to bring this out. Once the defense brings that out, then it's open for the prosecution. But until they do, so they're in a catch-22 right now. To shut it down would be making it public, unless it's done under seal.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay. So sorry about that. I just wanted to bring that up. So.
No. So my point with that is I knew there was something up with the doctor who's supposed to be doing the second evaluation. And, so we were in court on July 28th, and we didn't have the report back yet from the state hospital's doctors. So then we came back on 8/25, and we still hadn't performed the second evaluation. And the reason is because they're having such a hard time coordinating and organizing the EEG, right?
Mhm.
And so then we go to 9/15 again. Still haven't been able to put together the EEG and the MRI. And so during Thursday's hearing, when Josh Tellini was talking about reaching out to CMHIP. So for this testing, they have right now they're looking at three options. Their first, their first choice, they being the defense, their first choice is to have the 72-hour EEG and the MRI at CMHIP. Now they would bring in their own doctors, their own neurologist, and their own equipment. So Tellini was telling the judge on Thursday, I reached out to CMHIP. So he spoke to Dr. Gray on September 2nd. And Dr. Gray was the main doctor handling the first evaluation. Or I'm sorry, the first sanity evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
So he spoke to him on September 2nd. And Dr. Gray said, listen, it's not up to me. It's up to Dr. Pounds. And that's Dr. Richard Pounds. That's who's in charge of CMHIP. So Tellini spoke with Dr. Pounds, and he said, let me speak with my staff and I'll get back to you. If you haven't heard from me by September 7th, then give me a call back. So September 7th rolls around. Tellini hasn't heard from Dr. Pounds. So he calls him back. No response. And then he also called him on September 7th, September 9th, and September 14th, the day before court, all to no avail. Dr. Pounds is not returning Tellini's call. Now, I don't know. I mean, would you, Willow, would you return his call if you were in charge of the hospital that's already done 3 evaluations now, and now they want to use your facility to bring in this controversial, provocative doctor with testing that's not normally a part of a sanity evaluation in order to prove you wrong and your doctors wrong.
Right.
So is it wrong for him not to return Tellini's phone call? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I mean, but that's why Tellini wants
Give me an order.
Subpoena.
Give me a court order. Yeah.
Right. And
so
so that's their first choice is to have the testing done with their doctors and their equipment at CMHIP. But Tellini brought a plan B and a plan C, just like the El Paso County Sheriff's Office with Letecia. Tellini also brought a plan B and a plan C for the testing, which is the reason why we've had the last 2 months of delays, is trying to coordinate this testing.
To coordinate these EEGs, yeah.
Plan B would be to do the testing at the jail, and they would bring in, their own doctors and their own equipment again. But the issue there is safety, security, but also the ability for the audio and video recording.
Right.
I don't know that they're allowed to make recordings at the jail, but we don't know yet. We'll know on October 13th. And then Plan C was to take her to a hospital in Pueblo, not a state hospital, but it's actually called Parkview Medical Center in Pueblo. And the issue there is that they would need, because she has to be there at least 72 hours, they would need deputies who can be in her room or outside her room or however they choose to coordinate 24/7 for at least 3 days. So they need deputies and they need transport. And Letecia is a security risk. There are no charges from the event in Kansas, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Now, the next time that she was allegedly planning an escape, they decided to go ahead and file the charges. And that's why we now have that second case number, with the broomstick and although did you notice, I don't think she'd be able to get out the window today.
Did you say that out loud?
I'm human.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to break this down as to, I mean, people can go and you can Google this Dorothy Lewis.
Dorothy
I
Lewis.
want to know your opinion on what we know about this doctor. She's very controversial. She seems to take for the offender. It seems like she's trying to push a narrative that this is could be caused by a brain dysfunction from childhood abuse, which could lead to psychotic thinking and paranoia. And she really, really, really tries to push that narrative. She tries to throw science out the window. It doesn't apply to certain cases, and I'll be the judge of those who it applies to and who it doesn't. What do you think of what? To me, I'm going to say, I think, in my personal opinion, they're trying to bring as much controversy and chaos to this case that they can, because that's their only defense.
Right.
What do you think that their objective is with bringing in such a, and being very firm about, this is a doctor we want, we're going to bring her into a state hospital because, like you said, if I was in charge of the state hospital, look at, you want to come in, you want us to watch her, to house her, to feed her, to accommodate her, to be in charge over her, but you want to bring your own doctors, your own equipment, your own video stuff. Like, what?
Right. Well,
so what do you think, from your opinion, why do you think at this point in time their objective would be with bringing in somebody who is so controversial? What do you think?
Well, let's remember that she hasn't come to town yet. She hasn't done the evaluation yet. But I, like you, have been researching this woman since I heard her name. And so it's real easy to jump ahead of myself and assume what she's going to do, because she's done it with every other expert testimony.
Well, the thing is, with asking for this EEG and MRI,
right, she's going down the same path.
Yeah, she's going down the same path, because she says, her own words, with an EEG and an MRI, that those things could provide exculpatory evidence showing that she's not guilty by reason of insanity. And when she goes in and tries to find reasons for why killers like Ted Bundy and all these other ones that she's dealt with, let me see, I got a list of them. Ted, where are they? Oh God, there's there's a whole bunch of crazy ones that she's dealt with that are crazy. She's come in and tried to say, oh, geez, it's a brain dysfunction brought on either by paranoia or child abuse. It's like she's trying to find any reason to get them off, number one, or explain away. And then these people can be cured by doing this, and they're going to be safer. Hell no. No, I'm going to read everything, because I see the path she's going down with Letecia Stauch. And if she could try and do this with Ted Bundy and stuff like that, and try and persuade people to overlook the scientific evidence and bring in something so controversial, that all this is going to do is, number one, prolong the trial, prolong justice for Gannon's family, and she's going to cause more chaos. And I can see if this woman does this evaluation, I can see more coming.
Yeah.
Delays.
So that reminds me, one other thing that I really would like to speak on about my experience in the courtroom is, now I didn't speak to Al Stauch. We made eye contact. There was a bit of a head nod, but I didn't speak to him, and I wanted to treat him with as much respect as possible for such a hard thing. I couldn't imagine attending these hearings as a family member and not as, a member of the public. But I want to personally commend him for his ability to maintain composure in what I assume is probably some of the most surreal points in his life,
Right.
I don't know that I could do it.
Can't imagine how he feels. He chose that woman. You know what I mean? That
right.
was his son.
I was 5 feet away from her. He was 10 feet away from her. I don't know that I could be 10 feet away in his shoes.
And not
So,
want to
so I
give
was,
her a necklace?
I was very, yeah, I was very impressed with his ability to maintain composure.
Yeah.
I don't mean to digress, but
That's okay.
uh,
No, I don't
so
think if it would have been if this woman would have done something to my child, no, she would have had a nice necklace around her throat the first chance I had.
right,
Um, I I don't know how he's doing it, but um, I don't
yeah.
know.
So with this doctor, she will be she will most likely be providing testimony via WebEx on the October 13th hearing.
Right.
And the defense spoke up and said, well, it's going to be somewhat limited because I don't think this is the venue, to talk about, this study or that study or that. And Judge Werner, and I wrote down, let me refer back to my notes. Judge Werner basically said, if I can find it. Well, anyway,
I know she's going to be put on the stand to be cross-examined.
well, not in October. During the trial, yes, absolutely. But this is an evidentiary hearing.
She's also
And the
going to
judge
be on
is
the
gonna ask-
stand in October.
well,
She's going to be
it's an
questioned
evidentiary
about her expertise or something
Well,
to.
right. That's what I'm going to tell you. So
Okay.
the judge is going to ask her 3 specific questions, and when the defense raised concern about bringing her in to testify at this evidentiary hearing, the judge said, "Look, here's the questions that I'm going to ask her, and I think this is reasonable and fair. Number 1, what is the purpose? The actual purpose of the EEG. What does she think she's going to find? 2, is there another avenue? And 3, how does not having the EEG impact the diagnosis? How are we going to get to a diagnosis? How important is this EEG and why?" And he thinks that's within reason to be able to ask her.
I think he should have included another question is, could that EEG be altered? Could she do anything to alter
That probably
that
will be
EEG?
asked. Right.
That's
Because
got
we're
to be
also
asked
going to have a
because,
representative of the sheriff's office, and they're concerned about security, but also accuracy.
right.
If she's got 72 hours with, they described it as like an ACE bandage with electrodes inside. So it's a self-contained sort of unit. If she's got that on for 72 hours, will you have somebody watching her for that entire 72 hours to make sure that she's not altering results?
Right.
Which I think people would expect her to alter them more than they would expect her to not alter them.
Well,
Just based
and
on
that's the
current
thing. They
patterns.
would have to have eyes on her 24/7 without blinking.
Right.
Because we know how manipulative she is. We know what she's tried in the past. And like what you brought up earlier, I wanted to touch on that before we got too off topic, of taking her to a private hospital. Absolutely not. She's a
Right.
flight risk.
Right.
Right.
But at the same time, that's the point at which the defense brings up her due process rights. And because what he's saying is that she's being denied access to testing that she would be able to have that could be exculpatory if it were not for her in custody status. So they're saying that if she wasn't being held without bond, she would be able to have this testing done, which could prove to be exculpatory. And I don't think
But she's being held for good reason. So that brings it back on her. If you had not done what you did, you kind of lose a little bit of your rights. Like you can't come and go when you want. You can't smoke in the jail. You can't sit down and have a vodka in the morning. You lose certain rights. And it's like she's pushing the limits to the point where somebody has to step in and say, enough. There's been how many evaluations? Now you want to bring in, now if they want to fight this last evaluation, cool. That's her right. But to go to the extent that they're going and the demands that they are demanding, I think are on a very thin line
Right.
because of what she's charged with, what she's tried to do. Well, now, if she would have been the model citizen inside, not citizen, but model inmate in there and not done the things that she's done and refused to come, if she would have been on her best behavior, okay, look at, we're going to give her a bit of leeway and let's, if it's got to be a private hospital, but she and her actions have taken that, how do you say it? Not opportunity, well, opportunity away because of her own actions. Now, is this part of, what she's been doing, trying to act crazy and doing these stupid ass things? And I seen her one time in a WebEx with her left arm out and using her right-handed fingers typing on her arm. I mean, there's got to be a limit. Like, there's been how many evaluations? Now, what is this woman going to bring that all the other psychiatrists can't? She's going to bring more controversy.
Right. Well, okay, so sitting next to Michael Allen at the prosecution table is Dave Young. And Dave Young, I'm already very impressed with Michael Allen, but I'm equally impressed with Dave Young. So when he was asking the judge questions, he used the phrase extreme measures. And you could tell that sort of triggered the defense, because he called this EEG extreme measures. And then that's when Tellini popped in with, being denied the testing and due process rights, and reminding the judge that Letecia is in fact still innocent until proven guilty, and she should be able to have this testing. And I wrote down, I was happy with the judge with what he said, because I wrote down exactly what he said. And the judge says, I am acutely, and he put emphasis on the word acutely, I am acutely aware of the defendant's constitutional rights and the constitutional issues that are at play here, or that are in play here. And so the judge is like, believe me, I know everybody knows all about Letecia Stauch's constitutional rights. I am a huge fan of.
Don't mess with her peanut butter either.
Yeah, right. So it was, I had to review it over and over again, and thank God, I was in a place where I knew, even though I didn't know who she was, I knew it was important, she being the doctor. So to get back to your original question, I don't really have an opinion. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. And that's hard, especially with all the research I did once I knew who this doctor was. So there's an HBO documentary films. It's a Jigsaw production, and it was directed by Alex Gibney, who big fan of Alex Gibney. He also did Going Clear. He did one called Gonzo, the life and work of Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. He's done a bunch of really interesting documentaries. So I get in, to that documentary, and of course I'm immediately hooked, because one of the things that I learned while watching that documentary is, okay, I don't believe Ted Bundy was ever diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder.
No.
But at the end of this documentary, Dr. Lewis says that in her opinion, he was somewhere on the continuum of dissociative identity disorder. But then she also says that we all dissociate from time to time. And it also seemed, in watching that documentary, that she didn't seem to have too many patients who didn't have dissociative identity disorder.
Exactly.
Now, really concerning to me was the part where she was talking about Ted Bundy, and she said that Ted Bundy's wife, Carol, had sent her through a courier, a personal friend, it might have even been her sister, had sent her a bunch of letters that Ted Bundy had written to his wife, Carol. And so years after his death, Dorothy Lewis is looking at these letters from Ted Bundy to his wife, and she's saying, well, all of the handwriting appears to be somewhat similar, but the real difference is how he signs the letters. And he signs the letters differently, and sometimes using alternate names. And that's when she knew that Ted Bundy had dissociative identity disorder.
Wow.
And I think back to the YouTube creators who have been in contact with Letecia Stauch. Now, I don't think any of them have been in contact with her recently. I think once Tellini came on board officially as the one in charge, I think he was able to get her attention and shut her up.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, there were a lot of letters. And
where's Mark Means when we need him?
huge shout out to Kit, who traded letters and phone calls with Letecia and was treated like crap for doing so, because everyone assumed that she was just some sort of sympathizer or groupie, and it wasn't the case. And it was hard to see how badly she was treated. Now, Jules,
right, and the thing is with Kit, when Kit was reaching out and had the phone calls and the letters, what she was doing is, the more somebody like Letecia, you got to let them talk.
Yep.
Because the more you let them talk, the more you're going to find out. So by her doing what she did, it came across, not to myself, I knew exactly what she was doing and what the intention was without even ever knowing who she was. Good show. Like, I can't believe you got her on the phone, you got her writing and spilling the beans. Right. Because without some of that, we wouldn't be able to judge certain things the way we can right now.
Absolutely.
So
intelligence that she gathered, and Jules as well. The difference is, Kit had put some of the letters and phone calls out, but Jules did not. Jules was also exchanging letters with Letecia. So then we kind of add, it's kind of like the difference between having WebEx and having somebody in the courtroom and then putting them together.
Right.
If you look at the letters that were written to Kit, and then you look at the letters that were written to Jules, and then also the letters that were written to WTAF, I haven't seen anything from them in a long time, but right. But then if you look at all the letters together, knowing what we know about Letecia, then you can kind of see, why is she weaving the web, and that's what she's doing. Right. Why is she doing it? And she talked to Jules one way, she talked to Kit another way.
She had an agenda with each one of them.
Absolutely.
Now, and this is what I was talking about with the manipulation with her, is when you say are talking to Jules and you're describing a situation, then you talk to Kit, you're describing the same situation but in a different form. And then you're just describing that same situation to, say, the news outlet. And then you're describing that situation to a judge. And the reasons that my opinion, and I'm not no doctor, to me, she had a specific reason for saying what she said to each one of those people. Each one of them, she thought, was going to serve a purpose down the line for her. 100%. Okay, this one called me out on that, but this one didn't. That one called me out, and that one called me out, but this one didn't. So this is the one that I can pull this on. This is what I can pull this on. Right. And I think, so when you do put all that together, then you get the full picture. Individually, you only see a piece. Put them together, you see the whole picture. You see the manipulation in the rawest form. Right. You know what I mean? And we needed that. And as much as people, especially with Kit, I think Kit really got attacked. And
she did. And she was treated horribly at the end, toward the end of her communication with Letecia. Letecia tried to put her in the room as if Kit was there. Now, Letecia with Kit, there was a letter that she sent to Kit in October of 2020. So this is basically 8 or 9 months in after Gannon initially went missing. And she said, I changed my name to Janelle. She talked about, the Taylor name. She was a vampire in training. She doesn't remember anything from December of 2019 to October of 2020. She doesn't think COVID is real. That is invaluable information. And she signs the letter, I think, as Taylor. I can't remember. But so Letecia's been trying to pull that for a long time. But now when Letecia's writing Jules, she's not talking about the alleged, dissociative identity disorder. She's
Right.
trying to get compassion for Jules, and she's telling, Jules things that might pull at her heartstrings, and I don't want to get too much into it because
Yeah.
that is, those letters belong to Jules, and those letters belong to Kit, and those letters belong to WTAF, and anybody else who's written or communicated with her, including the Facebook shenanigans in the beginning.
Right.
Those, but when you do put them all together, it really does become this sinister little web, doesn't it?
Yeah. And don't forget, she is inside of the jail with other women that have done likely close to the same thing she's done, who are also feeding her information on what she should do. If you want to look crazy, you do this, do this. She's also getting tips from all kinds of other inmates on how she should act, what she should do, depending on what
Right.
she wants to have people portray her as, or what
Right.
she wants to come across as. Okay, well, I've got to get off this charge. I got to look like I'm insane. What do I do? And you've got all these women in there. Like, there's a misconception that she's thrown in with General Pop. She's not. She's in there with people who have done similar crimes to her.
Mhm.
They don't just throw you in General Pop. You'd be dead by the end of the day. You throw somebody like Letecia in there with, somebody who has no problems murdering people, but they murder people over drugs and stuff, and they have zero tolerance for people who harm women or children. And it's the same in the male population. She is in population with the same people like her who have done similar crimes. And don't think she's not getting information on how to portray herself in certain lights for certain outcomes she may want.
Right. Well, she's definitely studied Ted Bundy. And in fact, the first time that I watched that documentary, the Gibney documentary, it's called Crazy, Not Insane, and it's available on HBO. But the first time I watched that documentary, I had to immediately look up when it was released because I thought for sure Letecia had seen this documentary.
Wow.
But she's definitely studied Bundy. And one of her old profiles, I think it was a website called Angel Fire, and she was there under like T. It might have been under T Harden or I don't know. Anyway, she said that she wanted to study law or she wanted to teach law, and sometimes wishes do come true. I'm learning a lot about the law from Letecia, from her antics, but because she's such a bad example. So, she might end up teaching people a thing or two, but it won't be because she's sharing her wisdom and intelligence and experience.
Exactly.
It's because, but she
There's the right side of the law and the wrong side of the law, and she on the wrong side of the law, and everything that she's learning, like when she was going to the law library, when she wanted to represent herself, she was looking for loopholes. She was looking for ways out.
Right.
And I'm sure people inside have said, look this up, and how can you fabricate that to work for you in this situation? You know what I mean? So her reasoning for wanting to learn law or get involved in law is not for the better of what people like myself. I worked in the legal system for over 30 years. I worked in the legal system because I wanted to do better. I wanted to see better, and I wanted to be part of something better. That's not why she's using the law library. That's not why she wants to study law. She wants to study law to find the loopholes to get herself out of situations like this that she's in right now.
Right. Yeah.
And she shows that time and time again.
Yeah. She seems to use whatever is convenient. So Letecia is whatever might help her reach whatever goal she's on in that moment. So she doesn't claim her Native American roots unless it's going to benefit her in some way. She doesn't claim mental illness unless it's going to benefit her in some way. Otherwise, I dare you to accuse her of being crazy. But now that it's going to benefit her, she's going to be the spokeswoman of crazy.
Yep.
You know, she
And we've
picks and
seen it.
chooses, right?
We've
Over
seen it
and
time
over,
and
we've
time
seen it.
again.
Yeah. And she appears to be so convinced of her own superiority. I can't imagine her taking advice from anyone. I'm surprised that her defense attorneys have been able to get to her
Contain her.
as well as they obviously have.
Right.
So I took a
Well,
bunch
we
of
don't know what
notes.
goes on behind closed doors, girl.
Yeah, no clue.
I would, that's one client I would never want to have is a
No,
Letecia Stauch.
no. And whether that's a client and you're a hairdresser, or whether that's a client and you're a judge, whether that's judges don't have clients, but I meant defense attorney.
Right.
But I mean, I wouldn't even want her as a client as a hairdresser.
No.
She's now at the same time, a lot of those qualities can be positive qualities in a person that doesn't take it to the level that she's taken it.
Right. If it's used in the right way.
Absolutely. Just like any other gift or talent or skill, if not, if properly utilized, can be a wonderful thing.
That's right.
But turned foul, watch out.
Yeah.
And
turning foul, you get Letecia, right?
Right. And that's the first thing that I want to say about this doctor, about Dorothy Lewis. Dorothy Lewis does not believe in the concept of evil. She believes it's a religious concept and not a scientific concept. So she doesn't believe in evil. And so because of that, she goes in talking to all of these people who have been either accused or convicted of murder. She goes in and
any heinous crime, really.
Right. And I'm not saying that these people shouldn't be treated as humans. I'm not saying that. But she goes in kind of seeing them as victims. And so she believes that every violent offender has 3 traits in common. And those 3 traits are brain dysfunction, which is what she's looking for with that EEG. She's looking for abnormalities, and with the MRI, she's looking for things like cysts. She's looking for things, that may have come from old head injuries. So we already know, because of people like Kit and Jules, and we already know that she's been complaining about this head injury and that head injury for a very long time. So that makes me wonder if she, going in, knew about the work of Dorothy Lewis.
Right.
The 2 main questions I have at this point.
Or has somebody in there said, hey, you ever fallen off your bike and hit your head and you could have a brain injury? Like, I kind of know from,
I'm sorry.
I kind of know from working in the judicial system that there's a lot of that happens.
Right.
Okay, you need to beat this, and you know what? You got to look crazy. You know what? You fell off your bike when you were 7. Get somebody to prove that wrong, and you banged your head. You've got something now in your head. You've always had headaches. This is what you got to say. And she's been coached on aspects of insanity and what you need or what can be used to try and prove insanity. Okay? And like you said, the 3 things that this doctor talks about is the brain dysfunction, which could be caused by falling off your bike and smashing your head, falling out of a tree, jumping off a cliff into the water and hitting your head, the child abuse, which she's already gone into detail about, which would cause some psychotic thinking. I'm going to kill my stepfather because he raped me. You know what sorry, I shouldn't say that word. But, and then the paranoia. And she's going to focus on people that can help her illuminate those things and how she can come up with scenarios that have happened in her younger years where those things are going to become relevant. And like you said, I think she knew about this doctor beforehand.
Yeah, I think she did. And so that brings me to my 2 major questions at this point, sitting here today. Number 1, who is paying for Dorothy Lewis? It's not the state. Who's paying? Is it the defense counsel? I mean, did they take it out of their own pockets?
Yeah, because her lawyers are being paid by
the state
taxpayers.
Right. Or was it the Office of the Alternate Defense Counsel? But one of the things that I've learned from Scott Reich is follow the money. And so I want to follow the money. I want to know who's paying Dorothy Lewis. And then the second question that I have is, whose idea was it? I want to know how.
Yeah.
I want to know how Dorothy Lewis got called up to bat, so to speak.
This isn't just a doctor that you think, oh, well, Dorothy Lewis, she's the go-to, but no, she's not. She's not famous enough or well-known enough in the medical, other than, I think, negatively, not very well known as a person that everybody goes to. This is a doctor that most people want to stay away from in cases like this.
She was strongly and publicly, very publicly, against the death penalty. And although there's a technicality that says, the crime was committed during a time where that was still on the books, it's been repealed. Colorado hasn't put anyone to death for decades and decades. And it's not a death penalty case. Also, I've heard it said that her major focus is in preventing child abuse. And those three factors, brain dysfunction, child abuse, and psychotic thinking, that puts Letecia
and the paranoia
in the light, right? The psychotic thinking, specifically paranoia.
Yeah.
But that puts Letecia in the role of victim, and Letecia isn't going to have to prove that she was abused. She just has to claim it so that she checks that criteria that she was. Now, I'm not saying she was or was not abused.
Right.
In my instinct is to jump up and scream, it doesn't matter. But that's not my place. But she doesn't. So she just has to claim that she was abused, and probably we will hear about it. But what hasn't she lied about at this point?
What hasn't she claimed?
Is she going to claim Albert abused her? Is she going to claim that Chance Hunt abused her, Harley's father? Is she gonna claim that it was interfamily abuse when she was a kid? We don't know, but we know that she's going to claim some sort of abuse. She's going to claim some sort of head injury, and then we're going to get into the psychosis. And in one of those letters that she wrote, I can't remember if it was to Kit or Jules or both, but Letecia did state that she has been diagnosed out of state. It was, during one of the military.
Right. But she even said, I give you the authority to get that paperwork that was never found. Right. Well, I don't think it was ever found.
I don't know. I know that she was also jumping up and down, throwing a fit, wanting people to look into her educational records because she wanted to, prove the doctorate and the ABD designation, which stands for all but dissertation.
Well, we all know how that turned out, and
who cares?
When we started looking into her, it is who cares. But when she throws stuff out like that, look into my teaching record. Well, there wasn't anything good there, Letecia.
Right, and there's a reason for everything. Remember when that first letter that she wrote to the judge, where she was a patriot, a highly educated patriot who only cares about justice and our children, and
she's dedicated her whole life to Albert setting up somebody taking him and all this crap. That very first letter, I can't forget it.
Right, and she's been so tricky with it. So at one point she said that she picked someone off of the most wanted list and said that him and a partner had stopped in front of the vehicle and carjacked her and taken Gannon. And she said it was this guy, I can't remember his name. His partner was Terrence. Anyway, poor guy had nothing to do with it. Well, I say poor guy, but he was on the list as a sex offender, which is why she chose him, because she wanted to put that onto him. At the same time, she was talking about our friend Eduardo. Now, Eduardo became Edgar, and that was actually based on a real person. And it's not a real person that was installing carpet somewhere in the neighborhood that she asked. But with Letecia, there's always a little bit of truth in her lies.
Right.
And Eduardo became Edgar, and he was based on an actual person. And then that's when she started bringing up all of the poker speak, because she was saying that Albert owed this guy a bunch of money based on a high stakes poker game, and that he's the one who hurt Gannon. But she changed the story to say that he was in the basement and there was the SA and there, all of that. But then she threw in there, and he took a suitcase.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we know to look for Gannon in a suitcase.
Yeah.
Because of what she said. But there were little pieces that were true. And then she threatened to release this guy's identity. Now, I'm sure that the prosecution knows this guy's identity. But with Letecia, she throws out so many things, just like those puzzle pieces I was talking about,
Yep.
that are irrelevant, hoping that someone will pick up on them and run with them. And then she can use that to make other people look stupid. So it's tricky, and so even saying the things that she said while that WebEx was muted, that's tricky. Is she drawing me in to her web where I'll get caught and then, so that she can then try to claim mistrial or tainting the jury pool or, whatever it may be.
Everything she does is very calculated.
Right.
Everything, right up until this last hearing, everything she does is so calculated. Yep. This is why she's always been found sane and competent to stand trial. And when one thing doesn't work, she moves on to another. Okay, girls, I'm back. Guess what? It didn't work. Give me something else to go on. And that's what I think is happening. And it could very well be even somebody that she's in that jail with who has brought up this Dr. Lewis. And then her go to her lawyers and say, look, this is what happened over here. You got to look into this Dr. Lewis. I think she's getting a lot of her things that she's doing and the things that she's calculating and putting together. She's getting bits and pieces from other inmates, putting it all together and running with it. And when it doesn't work, she's got to start all over again. Okay, girls, that didn't work. That's what I think, in my honest opinion. That's what I can't see these defense attorneys going, let's think about this. We've got to get her an insanity plea. Who's the doctor for that? Oh, Dorothy Lewis. I don't think so. She's not that well known, except for somebody who has used her for this purpose before. One of them, either the lawyers or Letecia, came across that information. One of the three of them came across information that this Dr. Lewis is going to be their last hope.
Right. Well, remember when she said that she had two pieces of evidence, that were going to clear the record. And one of those seemed to be a video that in her mind would show that other people were involved. But I don't know what the other one was. Is this the other piece? Has she had this planned for a long time? Has she spoken to Dr. Lewis before? Is Dr. Lewis the one who initially diagnosed her with dissociative identity disorder?
Well, if that's true, then that would be a good reason why those records aren't going to be found if they're planning on using her. But I mean, that would come out in trial anyway if she had seen Letecia before. Oh, I didn't know it was the same one. I diagnosed T. Harden. I didn't know the Letecia Stauch. I don't know. It's just, I just find there's so much chaos that's been thrown into this that I would not put nothing past Letecia anymore. Never.
Right.
Like, this is somebody you've got to be on high alert around.
Right. Well, and I need to be careful. She's, so one of the, I know what I'll do.
I know you got to be careful with what you can say. So
I do.
And how you say things, but
I do.
And for those of you in the chat, a lot of them are asking about Crime Curious. She is an author and a writer. Okay. She has consulted with some of the biggest names like Lee Walters. He's a private investigator. He's a former special agent for the FBI. She's working on the cases in Colorado. She's got a book that's going to be coming out. She's been working on it since 2018. It's called Crime Curious Colorado Case Files. And it's going to be about due process in Colorado cases. And she's focused on Mark Redwine, Chris Watts, Patrick Frazee, Barry Morphew, and Letecia Stauch. Yep. She studied at the University of Colorado for rhetoric and writing. She's written columns for DGO magazine. It's called Yes and No. It's about the legalization of marijuana in the United States. She's also done several freelance articles that have been published. And her latest article just may be appearing in People's Magazine, the true crime section on the website and in print. So there you guys go. You guys all asking about our guest here, Crime Curious. Her name is Jennifer. Watch out for those things. Google it. But I can't wait for this book to come out.
Oh, you and me both.
And yeah, and she's got to be very careful what she says, how she says things. Don't forget she's an author and she's writing on true crime. So she's got to keep things factual. And right. When you're an author, and correct me if I'm wrong, you got to be extra careful in what you say. So when you want people to get your book, you don't want to appear biased or leaning one way or the other. You want to, go in with people knowing that you have an open mind. And like she said, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, whether we like it or not. And that's how she's going about writing this book, and as unbiased as she possibly can. So please don't hold it against her if she won't give an opinion on something or wants to hold her personal opinion to herself. There's good reason for that, and I do not blame her. So you guys watch for that book coming out. I believe it's going to be on Amazon when it does come out. So write that down, make a mental note. We don't know when's your book coming out?
As soon as this trial is over. It's the only piece that I'm waiting on. Everything else is done. And I want to
write a letter to the judge.
Right?
No, I don't want to end up in your book. Don't put it in your book about me doing my boo-boos. Right. Look at the smile. Hey guys, look at the smile. If that Willow.
I absolutely must remain objective, or else it loses the depth and weight.
That's right.
Now, that's not to say that I don't have personal feelings and opinions. Of course I do. But I need to be very careful and keep it professional. And so thank you. Thank you for touching on that.
Yes.
And okay, so back to Dorothy Lewis.
Your life was just so much more interesting.
Right. So I quit the day job. I've been working on this project since 2018. But I quit my day job, and this is what I'm doing full time now, which is why I need to, do things like these articles. I have security.
Yes, there's Des. Drop Crime Curious's link to her channel, please, in the chat. I don't know if you can do it because you're driving. Okay, just sorry, Jen, I don't want to.
No, it's okay.
Interrupt you, but I want to get your link here so I can drop it. I know Des is driving, so she can't. Usually, I'm not good at this crap. Okay, hang on. Let me find you here.
Can we just talk about Des for a second?
We have to.
She is amazing. She is helping me with proofreading. I cannot get enough eyes on this thing of people who I trust, who can go through it and really, I don't know if you're like me, but if I read something that's got typographical errors in it, I cannot take them seriously. And I would hate for a silly little mistake to discount the years of work that I've put into this thing. And you could look, especially as a person who wrote it, it's very easy to look at it and know what it's supposed to say and read it as if it says what it's supposed to say. And then you miss the
right. And if you've seen any of my lives where I'm going over court documents, it's like,
oh, the typos in those.
What the hell? What the typos? And like being that I did work in the legal field, it's like I catch every one. And it irritates me. And people go, Willow, why do you keep going back to that error there? Because it's irritating me.
Right.
And it's like, it's not just a little boo-boo. These are, like, I've always said to my kids, when I'm working, because I've always had a home office, as well as an office I go into. But when I'm at home and I'm working, I need peace and quiet. Don't disturb me, because one wrong sentence, one wrong something in there could screw your whole case.
Right.
So when I see that coming from the court in an order, and it's like, what? What do you mean 2019? No, it was 2020.
Right.
Or, something like your date is no.
Right.
It irks me. That's a pet peeve of mine, and I'll call them out every time.
Right. And legal writing is hard. You know how hard legal writing is.
It is.
You got to do it right.
You only get one chance, because once that's filed and that stamp's on there, you're done. You can't, people can't unsee that. And if it's filed with the court, it's like, well, can we have a hearing, Your Honor? Because paragraph 2, that was a note to my kid. I don't know how it got in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
right. And those documents in 2022, especially, are under more scrutiny than they ever have been before, in my opinion.
Right. And come on, you guys, you got spell check and everything. Like, we didn't have that 30 years ago.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But Des has been so helpful, and she's willing to read anything that I send her, and I absolutely trust her. She's just a total sweetheart. And then the second person.
Oh God. Well, let's stay on Des for a minute. Oh God. I send my sister something, okay? And it's just something like blah, 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 quick. Well, by the time I get it back, there's red, there's blue, there's orange, there's green, and a period here, and you missed a letter and put a comma.
Really good at it.
It's like, sister, it's a good thing you're 5 hours away. I would choke you. Like, no, just the basic. Look at this is what I got to do, and this is why. I don't need pronunciation. I'll correct all that before I send it. But does it sound all right?
Oh, I do.
Well, yeah. Well, no, because you forgot. Where's that period?
Right.
It's like, yeah, she is 100,000,000%. She will, even though you got something in front of you and you can read it, she's going to read it to you, and she's going to go over every point to make sure you understand it.
Right.
Yes, Des, I understand it because I sent it to you, but I'm going to explain it to you anyway. Yeah. She is the one for doing your proofreading 100%.
Right. And I had to fight her to get her to let me send her any money at all, which what I sent her wasn't much, and there needs to be more, but she's also stubborn as hell.
Oh, no. Come on. No, I don't believe. Okay, twist my arm. Oh, ow, ow. Okay, yes, she is.
Right. And then the other person that I want to.
Oh, are you in the room now, Des? Oh, is that Des I see? She's gotten awful quiet. But she did say she loves proof. Can you see the chat, Jen?
So I just now opened comments on StreamYard. I didn't realize I could see comments on StreamYard.
Yes,
it doesn't allow me to leave a comment, I don't think. But I can now see some, yes.
Yes, and she just said, I love proofreading.
So
absolutely, she's the one to detail. Like,
yeah,
y'all love me, she says. There you go. Y'all love me. Yes, we do.
And it's not just me yes, it's my book. Yes, I'm the author, but I have a whole group of people that I've been working with. Editor, illustrator, proofreading. There's an agent. It's not just me, and I'm consulting. I've got 2 private investigators. One used to be a special agent from the FBI. It was Lee Walters that you mentioned earlier. The other one, at one point, was chief of police in Fountain, where Gannon went missing from, long before Gannon went missing. And then he went to Pueblo, and he was a sheriff in Pueblo, elected for 17 years. And now he's in private practice, offering private investigation and security.
Wow.
And he has been a huge help, especially on the Frazee case. He
actually lucked out there, girl. You got some pretty good people that you can consult with and fall back on when needed.
Right.
It's good. Well, you need that.
Yeah. Who am I? I have the questions. They have the answers.
Yeah.
And then I just document it for the audience.
Right.
So I mean, I just there's also at one point I consulted a former Jesuit priest who is now in the mental health business.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. There, there's a lot, but attorneys, defense attorneys, prosecutors. Um, it's not just me. I'm just the one.
You got the
Kind
patience
of
of an
bringing
angel.
order from the chaos. Oh, my kids would argue that point, Willow. I
Okay,
promise.
so let's
So
do this.
wait. Second person, guess who? Those
Des.
are Hope Rocks.
Oh, my brother from a different mother.
I have a very large supply of Hope Rocks. And much like the information and intelligence that I'm pulling out of the courtroom and off the internet and any open source way that I can, that the information I'm putting together is a lot like these rocks. I mean, the purpose is for not to collect them so that they're mine. I was given these so that I could put them out into the world.
Yeah.
And so I met AK and little AK in person just over a month ago, I think it was. And I just happened to be in his neck of the woods, and I had just gotten a new vehicle, and I was getting ready to do this big road trip, and it's just me and my dog, And so he and Robert and little AK came and helped me do some things to the vehicle to ensure that I was going to be safe on the road and I was going to make it to my destination. And once again, would not accept any sort. Not only would he not accept anything financially, but he wanted to pay for it. I mean, I didn't get to.
That's Kurt. That's Kurt.
But I know that she is an amazing human being, and
he is.
He
gets a bad rap too. Like he's getting beat up a lot over on YouTube.
He's controversial.
But let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to. You guys, I will select a couple. I'll put them up on the screen. If you have any questions for Jennifer that you have that she's only going to answer them if she can. Don't forget, she's in the middle of writing a book. There's a lot of things that she can't talk about or can't elaborate on, but throw your comments up there. And if I see a good one, I'll throw it up on screen and hopefully Jen can answer that for us. So go ahead with your, I seen during our talking, there was a lot of comments. So let's open it up and let's see what we get here. I'll throw a comment or two up on screen and see if we can't get an answer from Jen.
Sure. So back to Dorothy Lewis while people are coming up with the questions. One of the things I'm just going to go over kind of my notes on Dorothy Lewis and some things that she said or that have been said about her that I felt were important. Is that okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things I wrote down here is that many people think that she insists on viewing the murderers as victims. And that I think we can count on with Letecia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will it be successful? I doubt it. So another big one. Oh, AK rocks.
Okay, before you do that one, there's a question up on screen for you. If you want to repeat those 3 things that she looks for or bases her opinions.
Sure. So with the EEG, what she's looking for is brain dysfunction due to a previous traumatic brain injury. And so she's looking for visible proof, that there are these bumps. Well, the MRI is to see the actual evidence of the injury, and the EEG is to prove how it affects her brain. So what she's looking to prove there is, number 1, brain dysfunction, which is generally a result of, number 2, a history of abuse. And then number 3 is psychotic thinking, particularly paranoia, which
there you go.
We've seen all 3 of those.
So those are the 3 things that she basically addresses, and I'm going to say it bluntly, tries to blame behavior on.
Right. To her,
that's
those
found
3 things.
To her.
So I heard her call those 3 things ingredients in a recipe for murder or violent offenses. So those are 3 main ingredients in a recipe for violence or murder.
There's one up on the screen. Des wants to know if your book is still available for pre-order. If so, text her the link so she can put it in chat.
It is not right now, but it will be soon. It will be soon. I needed to put some other things together. I want to be careful because it is my first book, and I quite frankly do need to supplement my income right now. But until it can be pre-ordered through Amazon, I don't want to put that link out there, if that makes sense.
And we really don't know, like all Crime Curious is waiting for is this trial to be over so she can finish her book.
That's it.
So the more delays, I mean, when we think of this as a whole of all these delays and everything else, the number one thing that goes to my mind is that poor family. Justice. Yeah. We need justice for the family. And then we need to get this through the court. We need justice done. And then there's like secondary and thirdary, or I don't know how you say that, but people down the line that this affects. There's police officers that are going to be called to testify. Some of them may be retiring. They have to come out of retirement to go to court. Like, this needs to get going. So that's what she's waiting on to be able to finish her book, is this case to be done.
Yep. For a lot.
And I guarantee you she's going to appeal it. So that will be book 2.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Hands down. But, you know, I'm ready to proceed forward with publication as soon as this trial is over, regardless of its outcome. It's coming out after this trial, which at this point, there's no way that it'll be before the beginning of 2023. I have committed to, so I found an Airbnb that is exactly 8 minutes away from the courthouse. And cool. I worked it out with the owners of the property that I could be here on a month-to-month basis, renting a room until this is over. If that's 3 months or 3 years, I'm going to be 8 minutes away from that courtroom.
Well, I will be following you. Do you tweet everything out too? Or?
No, I don't. I only use Twitter to pull information out. I don't put really information in, I guess. Okay. And in fact, I do have a Twitter account, but I'll probably gonna delete it. Right now, I'm so busy with the research and the writing. And now, and I have no business with a YouTube channel. I too am a non-tuber, but I'm trying, I thought about AK when I said, please lower your expectations. Because I also can't put so much into making videos that it takes away from my actual work.
And then you're going to set yourself up for, well, we want to know this and we want to know that. And wait till the book comes out.
Right.
Okay. So Glenn Hodge said, I pre-ordered before she decided to wait for Amazon.
Yep. All those pre-orders count.
There you go.
All of those pre-orders count. I just pulled it for now because there is a lot of attention that's coming from this. And it's one thing.
Well, I want on that list. You put me on that pre-order list there.
Okay. All right. I will. So it will be available soon. I just have to have hard dates.
Yeah.
And until then, it can't be made available on Amazon. So being my first book, it is what it is. And I don't want to jump the gun anyway. And I certainly wouldn't want to take someone's money and then not be able to produce. We just need to be a little bit closer, which, we'll get there. In the meantime, I do have, my website is crimecurious.com. Once again, I'm building it myself. Lower your expectations. But when this is all over, everything will come together.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So,
okay. So here's another question for you from Carol M. What do you make of the judges trying to keep out live streaming on these cases?
Well,
is that for both of us, or I just think it's craziness, because I think it should be open and transparent, but I don't know. What do you think, Jen?
Well, same thing. I'm a big fan of due process. I'm a big fan of the Constitution, and I'm a big fan of transparency. And it's important. It's our information. And in 2022, there's no reason why 100 people can't be watching and listening to exactly what's happening in a courtroom in a public case.
In a public place and public
Right.
place.
I understand redactions to, to protect the identity of vulnerable parties. I understand redactions to protect sensitive information, in real time, but within reason. And I feel like right now the redactions and the suppressions are a little bit more unchecked than they should be. Does that make sense?
Well, if we look at, there's another one here, Carol M. Will you autograph copies of your book? I'd love one.
Absolutely. It's
The
weird to
one,
get that question, but okay.
the one, hey, you're going to be famous. I'm gonna pump
I will be
your book
hiding.
out of this channel.
I have no
The one
intention
thing,
of becoming famous.
yes, well, you may not have a choice.
I'll run.
That yeah, but we'll find you. Don't forget, I used to be a PI too. I worked for a very well-known PI. I'll find you. Now, as far as like we can get into talking about, I'm not going to get into talking about the whole case, but where somebody just asked about the WebExes and stuff like that. Now, when you look at Letecia Stauch's case compared to Lori and Chad Daybell's case,
Right.
Where sealing of documents and hearings and whatnot has become the norm. That's where the problem is. Justice is supposed to be open and transparent for all. Now,
Right.
I can see certain things that they have to redact, or certain things that need to be sealed because there's just no other possible way without sending it out 100% redacted.
Right.
Because of sensitive information. But it seems to be the norm in that case now that anything that is said and done is, number one, behind closed doors. The hearings are very much behind closed doors now. We get bits and pieces, and 90%, 99% of the paperwork is sealed. So that's where I have a problem when cases get to that extent.
Yeah.
So there is somebody fighting the fight for that, and I'm wishing her all the best. Like I said, I do see paperwork that I've got my hands on that I'm going to have to do another live on that all in its own, because there's a lot of information in there that has come out from sealed documents because she put them in the letter to the judge.
Right. Well, in the Lori Daybell case, I'm not restricted from giving my opinion because I'm not writing about it. It didn't happen in Colorado, but I follow it. And in that case, I am Team Lori Hellis, who's also known as the Good Lori, and
she's the one that's, for those who don't know, the Lori Hellis is the one who is challenging all this done in secret and sealing of documents and having hearings behind closed doors. She's the one that's challenging it.
Yeah, she's not wrong. And then just, back to what we were talking about earlier with the WebEx, I want to make it perfectly clear that I believe you should be able to live stream the WebEx.
That's right.
It's a public forum. You should be able to.
It's a public forum. It's open to the public. If you can't be there in public, I should be able to bring it to you. It's a public forum. So to put the restrictions that they are, if I was living in the States, I'd challenge it. I mean, if I were, as well as my brother was accused of hacking. And then when they couldn't pin it on him, they started asking him, how did it say? He's got the transcripts of court, and it says, okay, well, and my brother, for those of you who don't know Kurt, AK Rocks, he's in court and the judge says, do you know somebody by the name of Willow? Or do you know Willow? And he says, the tree? Like he was like, to read it now, I laugh at it. And it's like, oh my gosh, Kurt. No, the person Willow. Yeah, I know of her. How well do you know her? Well, I know who she is. Like the way he handled that. Oh, the one in the very far north, like they can't touch me in Canada, number one. But when I was asked to take down that WebEx, I did, only out of respect for the justice system. And I really did. I was told that I could restream it. So my bad. I took it down right away. But
Yeah, compared to the Lori Vallow Daybell case, we're damn lucky to have it.
yeah, and I can stream the Daybell case. I'm
Oh,
allowed
really?
to. Yes.
Interesting.
They have cameras in the courtroom. There's a pool camera. Anybody can restream that, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah. So the biggest difference I see between that case and Letecia's case, you know, you've got Lori walking into court. She's had her hair done. She's wearing street clothes. You've got Letecia, you know, coming into court with shackles and no shower and hasn't brushed her hair and screaming about constitutional rights. You know, and we can see all of that with Letecia, but not with Lori. And I know that that's because they put in an order to make it so that she could have her street clothes. I wonder why hasn't defense counsel done that in Letecia's case?
Right.
Or do they want her to appear dirty and disheveled and in the clothing of a criminal, being treated like a criminal?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got their reasons.
Another question from Rosie. Rosie, I love you. Rosie's from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
She sent me some beautiful calendars. Thank you, Rosie. Are you covering the case of Isabel Talos, who was tragically taken while walking her dog in Colorado? And I probably misspelled her last name wrong. Thallos. Isabel.
I am not familiar with it, but I did make a note.
She did. I seen her. I seen you. I seen you writing that down.
That's what I do.
That's what you do.
Oh, okay. Are we? I want to say.
Oh, wait a minute, Jen. I got to put this up because this is something that I forgot to tell you. This was hilarious. And when I was reading the court transcript that AK got, the judge says, "What's your Twitter handle?" AK says, "What the fuck?" The judge says, "Did you tell the judge to F off?" I did.
And that is the exact moment.
Did you say fuck the judge?
Was.
Yeah. And that's
Prior
like,
to that, I didn't know.
What are you doing, man? What do you, brother, the last time we spoke, you said, "Willow, I got your back. Trust me." And then I'm oof. Did you say fuck the judge? I absolutely did. Yes, I did, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh. Yeah, that's another thing, Carol M. Yes. We are waiting, and I've been checking the court papers daily, sometimes 5 times a day. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I check them at least 5 times a day, waiting for the judge's order to see, because the defense has said, because the camera is honed in on Lori's face, and they had microphones on the table and whatever. The court TV's been doing this for many years. I think they know the rules. But anyway, the defense has filed a motion to not allow cameras in the courtroom anymore. And the prosecution's on board with that. So the judge, and then what happened was the media's lawyer was there and was trying to argue his point, which he has a right to do. Right. This is the motion that's in front of me. You as the media, because this is a motion against you guys. We don't want you in the courtroom. You have a right to get up and defend your side. This poor lawyer for the media got up and tried to present his argument, and the guy couldn't get 2 words out before the judge was constantly interrupting him and basically, I don't know, just trying to shut him down. So I think that's indicative of what we're going to get with that. I think the judge is going to disallow the cameras. I
hope not. I mean, it would.
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
just by the demeanor and some of the way. How can I say this? Some of the things the judge said, but it's the way he presented things when he was cross-examining before this poor guy even got out what he wanted to say. The judge is going to disallow cameras. I'm going to tell you. That's mark my words. That's in my opinion. I think he's going to come back with cameras no longer allowed.
Right. So back to
sorry.
No. I'm sorry. Going back to Dorothy Lewis and some of the stuff I wrote down. Can I say some of those?
Absolutely.
So the biggest one is, and this is her opinion, but it's a direct quote, and it says the gruesomeness of the murder is directly proportional to the craziness of the murderer.
Who said that? That doctor?
Dorothy Lewis. Yes, ma'am.
What?
The gruesomeness of the murder is directly proportional to the craziness of the murderer. And you and I and
don't
everyone
think
in
that's
chat already knows how gruesome Gannon Stauch's murder was.
right. But
I'm
I
not
don't
saying
like
she's
that
right.
comment. I
Right.
don't like that comment she made at all, because you're starting to sound a little loopy there, Doc.
Right. Directly proportional. So how
I don't think you can compare the two.
grotesque, right. How grotesque, so the grotesqueness of the act is directly proportional to the mental
So
health
the
of the
crazy.
murderer.
So in other words, the crazier somebody is, the more grotesque the crime's going to be.
Right.
What? Like
Right.
what? Where is your scientific evidence to back that up? Because you can have somebody who is completely sane and snaps and cuts somebody up into a million pieces. That person is not insane. They had a break.
Right.
What, like, you can't compare them. This doctor's starting to sound more loopy as we go.
Right.
She doesn't believe in scientific
No,
stuff.
she doesn't believe in evil because it's a religious concept and not a scientific concept. She believes in science. She believes that her
As
findings
long as it
are
fits her narrative.
based. Sure.
Because if you go by science alone, you wouldn't need what she's asking for. You could sit down and speak to her like the other psychiatrists have and decipher what is made up and what is actual truth and fact by observing somebody. I'm an observer. I will sit down and shut up and watch somebody. I'll learn more just watching you than I ever will talking to you. You know
Right.
well, no, I can't say that, but you learn a lot. So for her to say stuff like that, it's like, what?
Right.
Somebody
Well,
can have a mental break and be totally sane without having any brain dysfunction or crisis or paranoia or child abuse in their past. So what her comment is now irrelevant.
well, right here today, we all know that Letecia Stauch killed Gannon Stauch.
That's right.
Okay? We know that because of the affirmative defense.
Right.
She's saying, yes, I killed him, but here's why. Okay. Now, whether she's guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity, that's what's going to be determined. But does it matter why? I mean, so she's going to come in. We know she's going to say that Letecia Stauch has these three elements, and
But we don't even need the EEG at this point. We know it's all going to come back. Oh, she's got these elements.
Right. So why? Let's just ask the simple question: why did Letecia murder Gannon?
Right.
And this doctor is going to say, well, because she has these three factors that make her, and so that's another thing that I wrote down. See, normally this doctor's fighting for defendants who are facing the death penalty. And so a lot of my notes are going to seem like they revolve around the death penalty. But, in this case, it's going to be around, Letecia's case. Another thing that she said, it's a direct quote, is you don't kill people who, because of an illness, act in an uncontrollable way. So why did Letecia kill Gannon? She's going to say, because of an illness. And she can prove Letecia has this illness because she checks these three boxes that all serial killers and all violent offenders check.
Thing with that,
That's
if
not
she's
why.
going to say that she killed Gannon because of these illnesses, if these illnesses were present at the time that she did this to Gannon, then she wouldn't have the cognitive thinking to, number one, stop his sister from coming in the house, Number 2, to make up a theory he's sick, he's laying in my bed, don't bother him. Number 3, to send her daughter for cleaning supplies. That's going to blow it out of the water there for her. If you were in a state like that of a brain dysfunction or some kind of psychotic episodes and paranoia, you wouldn't be able to do the other things. It's showing manipulation. You can't put those two together. It doesn't make somebody who has these mental health issues. It makes somebody who's, I'm going to do, okay, this is why. We may never know why. I think it's because she knew her marriage was in trouble and she wanted to hurt Al back. And she took out her anger on Gannon instead of on Al because Gannon was an easier target and she knew that would hurt him. And she figured that she could make up this story that somebody took him and get away with it. And, that being her doing that would draw Al to her for the comfort and sympathy that he needs to get over the loss of his son. That's what I think. That's my opinion. Right. But you can't put two things together and make them the truth when they're two different ends of the spectrum.
Right.
You're you can see the manipulation and everything. 3 times she's been found sane, and one doctor is going to come in and say, well, no, it doesn't. No, I don't know. But I think it's going to cause enough controversy to have this drag on and on and on and on and on, because then the prosecution's going to say, well, we want our own experts now to do an EEG, and that it's going to go back and forth for, I may be 6 feet under by the time this case gets to trial.
I think that we'll go ahead and go to trial once we get this out of the way. So right now, speedy trial is told, and by told, I just mean the clock is stopped.
Right, because the
until we receive the report from the second evaluation. So I don't know that they've done the evaluation yet. They could be doing it right now for all I know. But what I do know is the evaluation is supposed to take 2 weeks, and then there's supposed to be 30 days after that to produce the report.
Well, it's not happening yet because there's been no order on it yet. The judge has to order certain things to happen. Number 1, where it's going to happen, who's going to do it, what's going to be allowed. Do they have to use the hospital equipment, their own equipment, whatever? That has to be under order. And then there's going to have to be an order for security. Right. Depending on where it's done.
Right.
24-hour, don't even blink. Don't nod off. You're going to get a karate chop in the back of the head or something if you start nodding off, because this woman is going to have to be watched 24/7. You can't touch your head. You can't touch anywhere near these wires. How are they going to do that?
Right. Well, and I would like to go back and study the escape attempts of Ted Bundy, just for comparison. I know that she has studied Ted Bundy. And we know she was looking at true crime stuff. See, there are so many things that can be taken out of context, and she knows it, and then she actually uses that as well. Let's talk about those Google searches before what happened to Gannon happened.
Right.
Do we really believe that she was making searches about what to do if, with, the stuff with Al? It seems like to me, which again, this is no part of my work. This is just me talking to a friend about my notes and working my way through so that I can put the story together. I feel like that points to premeditation.
Absolutely.
I feel like even those Google searches were bullshit.
Yep. So, like I said,
it's real scary because I wanted to believe at first it was an accident, and then she covered it up because she was scared.
Oh no, it was.
I don't feel that way anymore.
But see, I want to bring up again. What was I just going to say? There, look at a squirrel. Everything she does was calculated, including the letters to Jules and Kit and the news station and the judge. Everything is very well calculated, and I believe those Google searches were done in preparation for the act.
Right.
The same as everything else was calculated, and everything she's doing now is calculated to the point where, okay, well, I want them to use their own equipment and this and that, which would, the hospital is probably going to say, we don't have a problem with another doctor coming in, but they're going to use our equipment. If that's, and she knows there's going to be a fight about that. So what's the next option at the jail? Well, we don't have somebody at the jail that can watch her 24/7. So the next option is what? A private hospital, which is also a lot easier to escape from. So unless they have her 24 hours, somebody on her that constantly is awake and eyes on her at all times, that she doesn't mess with the cords or the hat or whatever this is she's going to have on her head, she's looking for a way to get out. She knows she's never going to get out. She's looking for a way. So I'm going to make option 1, which is the state hospital, almost impossible. I'm going to make option 2 almost impossible. So they have to go with option 3. Option 3 is my best chance at escape.
It could be.
It could be. I'm just putting it out there. So, we don't know what's going to happen down the line, but I'm telling you, you're going to hear me go, oh my God, if they say private hospital. I think I said it in my live during court. It's like, no private hospital bullshit there.
Right.
No, absolutely not. But let's see what happens. It seems that they're trying to make it as difficult as they can towards the state hospital and the jail. So that third option of a private hospital looks more appealing.
Right. And the defense is already set up with my client is presumed innocent, and we can't deny this testing as it goes against her due process rights, because this testing could prove exculpatory. And if she was out on bond, she'd be able to have this testing done.
That's
so
right. But she's
they've
not
already
on
got
bond.
the argument ready. Right.
Right. And they can argue it, but then the prosecution has an argument as, like if she would have been the model inmate, then we probably wouldn't have a problem with her going to a private hospital. But it's because of her actions while incarcerated that she can't follow rules there. How do we expect her to follow and do the right thing elsewhere where she's not monitored 24/7? And that's going to be the argument back to that. She's proven she cannot be trusted. She's proven to be a danger to others. And even I think, I don't know if she'd try and off herself. I think she's too high in her horse for that. But she's proven time and time. She's got big plans.
She's got big plans. Remember in the divorce, all she cared about was a publishing deal and her Poshmark account?
Yeah.
She's got big plans for her future.
She's
going to write a book before anybody else can.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
And
she's not the main focus. She's one of 5, and the focus is on due process. Yeah. So, haha, Letecia. Sorry, I'm just being
She's
silly.
Quite the character. She's quite the character. She just, and you know what? Here, Crime Curious. I'm going to show you this. Mm-hmm. And this is, I've had this up on screen so I could get the link to your channel. And this is what and it's like, every time I look over that way, it's like, bleh, like I want to chuck my cookies. You know what I mean? So
do you want to play that? Do you want to play that first video? It has the trailer for the documentary. If you want to play that. Yeah, that one.
We can do that. Okay, wait, I got to reshare this because I didn't share with audio. So let me share now with audio.
Yeah. I mean, pay no attention to the lady talking in the beginning, me, but it goes pretty much right into that documentary trailer. In Colorado's case against Letecia Stauch. Ooh, it's real quiet. It seems to have been missed by traditional news outlets and social.
That's up as high as it'll go. Hang on a sec.
Maybe if I mute, that'll.
Hang on.
I'm going to keep writing the article, but I think it's important that this information get out there. So anybody who can help me get this out there, I would greatly appreciate it, as somebody who's been researching this case for the last 2.5 years. So here goes. Gannon Stauch's body was found on March 17th, 2020. And on March 18th, 2020, Dorothy Otnow Lewis was attending a film festival with director Alex Gibney in order to celebrate the completion of an HBO documentary film about her life's work. We will be hearing from Dorothy Lewis at Letecia's next court appearance because she is the psychiatrist who will be performing a second sanity evaluation on behalf of the defense in this case, to include a 72-hour EEG and an MRI.
I have now seen 22 serial killers. It's fast.
Wait a minute. Is that her voice? You're muted, Jen.
Yes, that is. And she's also.
Oh my God. I'm not going to be able to listen to that when she's on the stand.
Yeah, she's also in her 80s now.
Oh, well.
Fascinated me. I think any one of us, myself included, could kill. Don't you ever wonder why you don't murder? We know that the most disturbed, the most psychotic, or the most brain-damaged killers do the most bizarre, grotesque, horrendous kinds of things. Courts are all far more curious about what the murderer did than about why they did it. And wondering how someone could do that to someone else. It appalled me and it fascinated me.
She was a pioneer, and pioneers are often not treated well.
It was early in my career. My work was questionable.
They did a form of interviewing that can cause vulnerable people to believe they have more than one personality.
How can there be such different functioning in the same brain?
Bundy himself perpetuated the fantasy that he came from this perfectly normal childhood.
So I interviewed family members. Things were horrendous for Bundy from conception on. When you couple some kind of brain dysfunction with a history of horrible early ongoing abuse, the social, the psychological, the biological forces that came together, you get a super dangerous person.
Wow. So this is her narrative.
Yep, in most cases. And she's an expert witness, and I assure you she is not cheap. I want to know who's paying her, and I want to know whose idea it was.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm against her. I'm not saying anything bad about her. But I want to know. I want to follow the money, and I want to know why. I don't even necessarily want to know why Letecia killed Gannon.
To me, and this is only my opinion, this is not Jen's opinion, this is only my opinion, she is trying to, I feel, mold Letecia into fitting her theory instead of figuring out exactly what's going on. I think she wants to mold it into, this is what she's going to say. She got a brain dysfunction, the child abuse, the paranoia. She's going to mold that into her argument to say that she's insane.
Maybe.
Because this is what she does. When other psychiatrists that have interviewed and evaluated have said the total opposite, she needs now to mold. And did I hear that wrong? Where there was some kind of almost hypnotism or whatever to get them to think about things. You can hypnotize somebody to think certain things, so that's what they say in their waking hours. You know what I mean?
I certainly wouldn't want to accuse anyone in her position of having any sort of ill intent. She definitely signed the Hippocratic Oath, and she is not supposed to do any harm. And she hasn't evaluated Letecia yet. What if, and how cool would it be, right? What if she goes in, does the evaluation with Letecia, and then says she's faking it? Maybe that's why she's not paid for by the state, because then the state can't use, the prosecution can't use her as a witness. But now she's been an endorsed witness. I don't know. I need to look into how that works. Because what if she does the evaluation and comes back and says, this woman's faking it? Now, that's not likely, because it seems like every killer that she's interviewed has this disorder.
Traits.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not likely, but what if? Wouldn't it be cool?
It would be, but I'm not going into this very confident. I think she is going to dive deep. And even though, and I don't like saying this, but because every case she's done,
Right.
she has stated they have this disorder. Come
Right.
on. That's like this randonautica. Not every place you go to, you're going to find something. So
Right.
I'm kind of biased already, because when you have a doctor that every case that she's had, a high profile case she's done, she's come back and said they have this disorder. Maybe there was one or two that didn't. Maybe there was one or two that did and the rest didn't. You can't, when you get 100% rate like that, nothing is 100%. Nothing in this world is 100% except for life and death. That's the only thing that you can count on to be 100% is being brought to life and then eventually dying. That's the only thing in this world that's 100%. So for every one of her cases to be 100% they got this disorder, I'm not expecting anything more.
Right. Well, and it's a thing, you know, where we'll just have to see what happens. Now we're one of the only ones that are talking about this right now because I think a lot of people missed it. But when she does testify during the evidentiary hearing and she answers those 3 questions about the importance and what does she hope to find and can her work be done without it, I think everybody on October 14th, you know, or late in the evening on the 13th, I think everybody's going to be writing about
Talking about
Dorothy
it.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have the information now, so let's go.
Yeah, is she doing this pro bono? Good grandma. Good grandma just said this. Good question. Yeah, is she doing this pro bono for her research? Maybe that's why she's giving her services for free, because the state doesn't pay for private specialists. Right. So
Yeah,
that's
don't know.
another option. Is she doing this for some kind of research? Is Letecia just another guinea pig in her
Right.
book of this is what I've done for my life, in my life? I don't know.
She has a very long
But-
career where she is constantly getting grant money. So maybe grant money has put her in a position where she can go pro
do it
bono.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's why it's one of my major questions.
To me,
I
you know,
definitely want to follow the money.
Jen,
And I want to know if it was Leticia's idea.
right. And who brought this up?
Yeah.
If she had a track record of even 60-40, yeah, you know what? I did all these serial killers, 60%, yes, had this disorder. The other 40 didn't. They were faking. Or even 80% did and 20% didn't. I would give more, I'd feel more at ease with it. But
Well,
it's
here's the thing that
100%.
gives- I'm sorry.
But it's 100%. And it's like, you can't. There's nothing that is that cut and dry except for life and death. Sorry. There's always something somewhere where you can't. No, is it? No, no. Uh-oh. My
Right.
sister's probably, this is probably my sister going, calm down, sister. Nope, it's not.
I guess, you know, a big thing for me is in studying this doctor, you know, for the last 5 days, it's not like I'm an expert on the expert. Okay.
Right.
But she has had so much focus on death penalty cases and child abuse cases. Letecia is not facing the death penalty, and Letecia is actually the one accused of abuse. Right. So that gives me hope that you know, so it's not this doctor's goal. Frequently this doctor, when she comes in as an expert witness, her goal is to make sure that the defendant is not put to death. Now, she says that she agrees with punishment, she agrees with locking them up, and that's another good thing I wrote down. I just have to find it. She believes in punishing them. She believes in locking them up until they can get treatment. And instead of it being crime and punishment, she would rather go to a rehabilitative model. Now, if Letecia gets sent to CMHIP, not guilty by reason of insanity, she can apply for release every year and prove that she's now been restored to sanity. And then she's a free woman.
Mm-hmm.
then her only goal is manipulation. And, we already know how hard she's going to work at that if she is sent to the hospital. One positive about going to the hospital is at least then they can force medication on her.
Right, but forcing medication on her, if that brings her back to sanity, then she's out on the street again.
Right.
Hey, then let her move in beside you, Dr. Lewis. Take her into your house because she's going to need a place to live. Do you feel comfortable letting this woman move into your house when she's released from this mental hospital, when she's restored, because you say she can be restored? Are you comfortable? And if your answer is no, then she has no right being let out to begin with, or this, no.
Right. And if you're Letecia and you're trying to prey upon this doctor, and find out how this doctor can, serve you, because Letecia is all about people serving her, right? Whether that's in a friendship or in a professional situation, whatever it is. If can Letecia manipulate this doctor so much that this doctor in her 80s, at the end of her career, while she's passing the torch on to other researchers, can Letecia look at this doctor and know what this doctor needs from Letecia and offer that to her? Does that make sense?
Right. Absolutely. And it's just like she wasn't able to manipulate 3 other psychiatrists.
Right. But
so she could manipulate this one. Right. Not only, and that's why I said she should not be doing this. If this is going to hinge on this doctor who is in her 80s at the end of her career, that could be, Letecia could be researching her. We don't know, or have others researching her. Letecia, all you got to do is play on, you look beautiful for your age. You got so much life in you. Whatever she's got to throw at this doctor to manipulate this doctor into liking her.
Right.
You know what I mean? At 80 years old, your mindset is still, I don't care if she's still like the doctor's sane and everything else, but I know, damn it, I'm almost 60. And I'm telling you, my mind is not the same as it was 30 years ago.
Right.
Thought processes are different. Like if this is going to be the ideal person to manipulate for Letecia.
Right. But I also want to give the doctor some credit because, she is very well educated and she has been actively working, for decades with this.
But how good is that at 80 years old?
Right. Does that make her easier to manipulate?
I think she's an easier target to manipulate because of her age. And I'm telling you, and I don't care, I will admit it. I can't remember shit. I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. You know what I mean? Like there's things in your mind that start slipping. There's things that as you get older, especially in your 60s, 70s, 80s, that you wouldn't put up with 30, 40 years ago that you will put up with now. You get kind of naive in your old age. Right. And I'm not talking about just this doctor in particular. I'm talking on a whole. There's a reason why at a certain age, your license is taken from you. You could still drive very well, but your same attention span is not there. And it's one wrong move, you can kill somebody. So it just because you're not driving a car doesn't mean that your mind is still not changing and not functioning the same as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. There's still avenues for people like Letecia to get her little fucking spikes into.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to put the safety of everybody in the hands of an 80-year-old? And I'm not trying to be biased. I hope it doesn't come out that way.
It's
not what I'm saying is as you age, your mind starts slipping, playing tricks on you. Like, oh my God, I thought I put my coffee cup there and it's over there. Like, come on, let's do some reverse on this doctor.
Right. Well, and it's not in the doctor's hands, but she is giving expert
you have a huge
input. It's up to
as an expert.
Right. So CMHIP says that she's sane. This doctor, if she says that she's not, both will present to either the judge if Letecia gets her way and has a bench trial, or the jury. But it's going to be up to that jury, or it's going to be up to that judge. And it's clear that when we ask this doctor, why did Letecia kill Gannon? Her answer is going to be because she's mentally ill. But
Mhm.
in my research, one of the things I read an article in Variety, and that article was actually reviewing the documentary, right? But I still picked this up because I thought it was great. It was a great question. Does the fact that serial killers compartmentalize their most savage sides mean that those sides aren't them? That's one of the things that she played on with Bundy. Is at one point Bundy said, the person sitting before you never killed anyone. And in her opinion, that was true. Ted Bundy didn't kill someone. His alternate personality, Sam, who was actually his violent grandfather, is the one who killed these victims. And so Letecia comes up with Janelle and Taylor and all these others. I think one is Britt. She's got lots of names. So Letecia didn't kill them, but Taylor did, or Janelle did, or does the fact that that all serial killers compartmentalize, does that mean that it's not them committing the act? And I don't think
Right.
that she's, even with all of her years of experience, I don't know that she's prepared to answer that in a way that will sway
Exactly.
a judge or the
A
jury.
Or the jury, yeah.
And I still haven't quite figured out why Letecia wants a bench trial. Although we haven't heard about it for months. So I don't know. Maybe she's come back.
Well, the thing is I think if this doctor comes back that she is sane, if we happen by the grace of God, it comes back that this doctor comes to the same conclusion as the last three, because it's going to be really odd if she's the only one that comes back with something different.
Right.
I think that if this doctor does come back and say, no, she's faking this, I wonder then at that point, I think Tolini and them will go with the jury.
You think?
I think so.
Yeah.
See, and the thing about Letecia too, she doesn't want to face anybody. She doesn't want the scrutiny. Like if she's watching any of this crime stuff and stuff like that, we don't know what she watched before this incident happened. She knows that there's people out there that can read face recognition, the way things that she says, things that she does, the way she shifts in her chair. There's all kinds of recognition out there that can be done on her physical. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I believe that that's one of the reasons she doesn't want to be in court, let alone in court for her ex-husband to see her in a disheveled state. She
Right.
wants to look at your missing buddy. Well, you better start working out because we can see a whole lot. But you know what I mean? And that, yes, that was a dig at Letecia. But I mean, I don't know. This bitch, I can't with her.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to research this doctor, the two main sources of research for me were the Crazy Not Insane documentary by HBO Films. It's streaming on HBO Max now. But then there's a book called Guilty by Reason of Insanity. And can we just talk
Let me
about those
read this.
both of those titles really quickly? It's like $25 on Amazon if you buy it new.
Guilty by
I was looking for an Audible version, but I couldn't find one.
now,
The
the
subtitle
Guilty by
is-
Reason of Insanity, is that by Dr. Lewis?
It's by Dr. Lewis, and the subtitle is A Psychiatrist Probes the Minds of Killers.
Probes the minds of killers. There's no Audible?
Nope, no Audible.
That's going to be an issue for I can't. I think I'm ADHD or something in my old age because it's like, oh, look, squirrel. Like to sit there and read a book. I don't know.
Right. And then one that I
I
found
read enough in
really
my school
interesting.
years.
So there's a podcast interview on YouTube. If I could make a comment, I would totally link it, but I'm sure we can find it again. I mean, it's called MD Edge. Only MD Edge is all one word. So
M D
yeah.
Edge.
So I'll say it phonetically. So it's Mike Delta Echo Delta Golf Echo.
Okay. MD Edge. Okay.
MD Edge Psychcast. and psych cast being
Yes,
one word.
Psych cast. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want that one
I'll
phonetically?
find it.
No?
I'll find it and hang on. Let me just find it here.
So,
That's
so
on
this
YouTube?
one, it's on YouTube, and I think
Okay,
it's
hang on.
about an hour long. Now, the reason why I found this particular podcast very interesting for my research was that it was the interview with Dorothy Lewis was performed by or hosted by Eva Ritvo. That's a friend of Dr. Lewis, and at one point, Dorothy Lewis was this interviewer's mentor. So we get a whole different view of her. But one of the things that Dr. Lewis says in this podcast.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, let me share this. Because, like I said, I think I'm ADD or something. I can't do two things at once. Okay, so is this the one you're talking about? Thoughts for practice? Huh?
Well, no, it where it says Sightcast, that's the thumbnail, but it's the one with Dorothy Lewis. But the second one is the proper channel.
Oh God, look at this. Whoo, isn't that a sight to see? Okay, Psychcast by MD Edge.
I would put MD Edge, if you go back up to the search bar, I would put MD Edge Sightcast and then add the name Dorothy Lewis and you'll get it.
Whoops. Wait a minute, let me pull my keyboard out. Dorothy Lewis.
That's
this
not
is what I
it.
got.
It might be part of that playlist. Interesting. Let me see what
Maybe they took it off.
I hope not, because I got a ton of information out of it.
Umberto Lewis.
It's in my downloads. Okay, I am going to. Whoops. I'm going to email you the link right now.
Okay,
just
email me
to
the
skip
link.
through it.
I'll pull up my email so I can.
And I'm going to do it in that same string that we've been emailing.
All right.
Earlier today. So, reply. Okay, it's on its way. Would you mind, speaking of old lady stuff, would you mind if I walk away for just a second?
Go ahead. I'm going to wait for this to pop in and
I'll be right back.
Put it up for everybody. MD Edge Sightcast. Okay, hang on. She sent, there we go. Crime Curious. Okay. Here is the link to what she was talking about right here. Okay, I want to show you guys while we're waiting. Let me just go over here. I want to show you guys something, what I made. This is in my new, you're playing with me. Traffic lights. Okay. I want to show you guys something. I gotta do my login first. Hang on. Okay. I want to show you the shirt. Okay, let me share my screen. These are in Canadian prices, you guys. So you guys are going to see how much it costs for us Canadians. For like stuff that costs you guys like $25 costs us $39. But anyway, this is my new line that I just put out. And this is one of the shirts just to put in so everything isn't just all serious and stuff. So this is the front of the shirt. Wait, this is the front of the shirt. It says above and beyond ancestors. I'm invisible. And then on the back it says, what? You can see me? So I just wanted to show you guys that. I've ordered it. It's supposed to be coming in. But I just wanted to show you guys that one. I thought it was cute. And you get it in a whole bunch of different colors. For US prices, it's a lot cheaper. I think it's $29.99. But yeah. But I wanted to show you guys that. Australia, this new line, you can buy in Australian dollars too, because they now have an outlet in Australia. So instead of coming from the States, it comes right from Australia. And I checkmarked it so you guys can use the Teespring outlet that's out there. It should be a lot cheaper. I know, when I said, okay, I've got it. Like, I do all the normal ones above and beyond Ancestor with the big wings on the back and whatever. But I said, I want to do something that's cute. So yeah. Oh, there's my sister. I need that. Carol, no, I don't do that stuff for petitions and GoFundMe's and all that. I don't allow that. Sorry, but it's just, I don't get, it's just to protect myself from getting wrapped up in the drama. I did something like that once and never again. Kind of ruined it for everybody else, but no, I don't put my stamp on any of that stuff. Sorry, but yeah, this new doctor, where did I just see that? I'm pretty nervous about this new doctor too. There's a reason why they chose her. And I think, only in my opinion, I think it's somebody inside that told Letecia about this doctor. If anybody can get you off, she can. Talk to your lawyers about her. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I don't even know where this doctor is from. Let's see. She grew up in New York City during World War II, became interested in figuring out what makes certain types of people tick at a young age, according to Yale. For curiosity, okay, so where is she? Oh, Connecticut. New Haven, Connecticut. No, she's in New Haven, Connecticut from what this says. She works, hang on, let me just pull this up. Here, I'll share it with you. Okay, so right here, psychiatrist, child and adolescent psychiatry, Yale New Haven Hospital, 21 years experience. Okay, we know this is her here. Here she is. Okay, what the hell? Yeah, I'm happy. This is from years ago, this. This is from years ago. We don't want that. Where is she right now? Okay, let's see what this says. Results going to Tuesday. What? Maybe later. Okay, let's get out of this. Like, I get this a lot when I'm trying to look up places. Okay, this looks more... When was this? This is in 2020. I bet you any money Jen will know. So she says, we discovered that the death penalty has no deterrent effect. Further, it appears to encourage homicidal behavior. Like, you guys can research her. Because they're not, I don't know. We'll ask Jen when she comes back. I don't know where she's from, but I think it's Connecticut. Oh, Nana. Shh. Don't say that so loud. We don't want to jinx ourselves. I think, Diane, honestly, I do believe that somebody in the inside there in the jail told her, this is the doctor to go and see. Tell your lawyers about this doctor. That's what I think. Yeah, the inmates share advice, believe me. Okay, there's Jen. Jen, where is Dr. Lewis from?
She lives in New Haven currently. So she
Connecticut?
was
CT?
yes. So she was on the staff at Yale, but she's
we were just
currently
reading through
retired
it. I
from
wanted
Yale.
to know where she was living now. So we read through all that, where she was previously working and where she went to school and all that. I was just looking for where does she live now. So
Yep.
how far is where she is to Colorado?
I'm not sure. But I'm sure
Anybody in the chat? Come on,
expensive.
where's my sleuths in the chat? How far is it from Connecticut to Colorado? I don't even know. Well, see, I'm not in the States. I'm in Canada, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's across the country.
So it's like you're bringing in a doctor from across. So this doctor isn't one that the defense would say, oh, let's call Dorothy Lewis from whatever the next state over is, Colorado or Tennessee. So. Right? So somebody had to have put that bug in their ear. And I think it's Letecia. Somebody inside told Letecia, hey, you know what? I'm in here for murder too. Guess what? You need to contact this Doreen Lewis. That's what I think. That's how I think how her name came out. But that's a question. How did you come across her? 2,000 miles at least, Yvette says. So several states away. Like this isn't somebody that's in the neighborhood that everybody knows. If you got a case like this is a person to call.
Right. Well, Gannon was found 1,500 miles away from home. So.
Right. But she took him from Colorado to there. I'm talking about when you go looking for an expert, like say I had like a case that when I was in Hamilton and we were working on a case because I worked for some pretty high profile lawyers. They were some of the best in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And very well known. Everybody wanted them for a lawyer if they did something criminal. And if we were to get an expert, we were looking at like Toronto, London, like within 100 miles. Like who's the best here? 2,000 miles away? How do you even know about this doctor? Unless somebody's put a bug in your ear about something. Like there's some crazy people that follow Letecia and think she's innocent. Like they could be doing stuff on the outside and getting the information to her. Or
I'd like
somebody
to talk to
inside.
them. I'd like to talk to them for sure.
Oh no, not me. I can't stand talking to crazy. I would never be able to interview somebody like Letecia. It'd be like reach across and give her a smack, like smarten up, stop it. Like you're not fooling anybody. Stop it. I couldn't. I can't. To me, my time is worth money. My time is precious. I can't get this time back that I have once I've spent it. So it's like to sit there and give her that platform. You know what I mean? To just listen to crazy. No.
Yeah. I mean, it's of course speculation, but if I had to guess, because I do believe that Letecia really did study Ted Bundy. And if I had to guess, that would be where she heard about it. But again,
could very well be
just guessing, that's why I have the questions that I have,
Yeah. But I guess we should wrap this up. We've been here almost 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
I know. It
Well,
goes
I
by fast.
appreciate the opportunity to walk through my notes one more time before the article's done. But now that the did you were telling me, I think the defense has now listed her on as an endorsed witness. Is that true?
I haven't got the defense's endorsed witness list. I don't think they
Just the
filed it yet.
prosecutions?
That
Okay.
was the prosecution's endorsed.
Yeah.
I know there are other endorsed witnesses that I have seen in the past, long before these issues come up. The
Right.
prosecution has a ton, including Harley. Harley's on their list too,
Right.
of endorsed witnesses. Now, as far as the prosecution, I don't think they have to file it yet. They have so many days before trial to file it. So depending, I think the defense is going to be waiting to file that, dependent on, number one, what this psychiatrist is going to say, and number two, what their decision is going to be once this evaluation comes back. Are we going with just judge alone, or are we going by jury? You're crazy to go by just judge alone. You're crazy.
Oh, yeah. I agree. So real quick, I did want to just quote Dorothy Lewis again, so that we know what's coming. So she said, I am haunted by the prospect of condemning, let me start over, sorry. I am haunted by the prospect of condemning to death a person whose upbringing and brain function have made it hard, if not impossible, for him to control his acts. Granted, the person may be a menace. I have no problem locking him up and throwing away the key. Until we know how to treat such individuals, the public must be protected. So she's not saying we shouldn't punish these people. She's saying that we shouldn't kill them. Well,
Okay, well, that's not on the
That's
table
not-
for Letecia.
that's
So
not
why are you
right.
here?
right. So then we would have to adjust that to say her goal is to make sure that Letecia goes to
Treatment.
well, I'm not saying that. I can't say that. I'm sorry. I retract. It's possible that her goal would be, in working with the defense as an expert witness, to make sure that Letecia goes to the state mental hospital, and thereby getting a chance in the future
Well,
to be
not
released.
necessarily making sure
opposed
she
to
goes to the
prison.
state hospital. I think working in conjunction with the defense in the same goal to find her not guilty by reason of insanity, whatever
Right,
that
that
looks
puts her
like
at the state
after
hospital.
there. Right. Whatever
Right.
that looks like after that, it's like you're. Oh no, I think I can't say it. I can't say
Yeah,
it live.
With the affirmative
Um,
defense, she admits that she killed him, but she's either not guilty by reason of insanity and goes to the hospital with a chance of getting out in the future, or she's guilty, she goes to prison with no possibility of parole.
Right. And
those are
she
the
needs
two
to go to
alternatives.
prison with no possibility of parole. Because if she does get out, I think somebody will take her out.
You
She's
think?
not safe around. And another thing too with this insanity thing, it's
Uh-huh.
like up until you did that act, you functioned perfectly normally. You get up in the morning, okay, you're concerned about your looks. This is not, she's showing so many character traits of somebody who's not insane. Insane people really that can't function in this brain thing and all this don't care about how they look. They don't care about who they got a face. They don't, you know what I mean? There's just don't care about well, you're not giving me my rights to toilet paper. It'd be they would just go and take it somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the fact that she's pleading her rights, her constitutional rights, is that an act of a sane person or an insane person? That's the act of somebody who's saying, look, I have constitutional rights. I know what my rights are. I want my toilet paper. And how dare you take me out looking in public like this?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're trying to make yourself look crazy, you're not doing a very good job. And your little antics there of typing on your arm with your fingers and
Flicking the lights on and off.
yeah,
Around.
spinning around like she's a ballerina. Like who told you to do this? Because you look like a fool. You don't look crazy. You look like a fool trying to act crazy.
Right.
Like if she was really crazy, she would be doing more. You see them where they physically have to straighten them down in a chair in the courtroom because they can't keep their mouth shut. You can't be a good girl all through this motions hearing, and then at the end decide when the judge, because the judge reprimanded you for being tardy. Now this is your opportunity. Yeah, son, bitch. Yeah, listen to what I gotta say. You know what I mean? That's not the actions of somebody who is insane. If she was truly insane, believe me, there shouldn't be pens or nothing in front of her on a desk.
Right. Well, and they did move the pens when she first sat down. The deputy came over and moved a pen from in front of her to in front of Tellini.
They shouldn't be on the desk at all.
And then I think Tellini put it up on the podium that was between the prosecution and the defense. But and I want to address. Like I already said, I'm a big fan of the Constitution and of due process. And I know that it gets frustrating. I mean, we're 2 years and 7 months or 2 years and 8 months right now?
I was just going to say almost 3 years.
It's very frustrating because everyone wants justice for Gannon, right? It's really frustrating. But Letecia is a challenge. And I don't mean to say that she is a formidable challenge, but she is a challenge. And so along the same lines of being impressed with how well Al Stauch was able to maintain composure in the courtroom, being 10 feet away from her, I'm also impressed with the judge. Now, I know a lot of people get very frustrated because it's taking forever and he's having, the way that he phrased it. What did he say? I am acutely aware of the defendant's constitutional rights.
Yeah.
And
didn't he say something about an appeal too? Like he's taking that, or is cognizant of the ability for appeal or something like that.
Right,
I couldn't hear that well. So.
Well, what I wrote down is I am acutely aware of the defendant's constitutional rights and the constitutional issues that are in play here. And the way, and phrasing it that way and saying that these things are in play, he really is, walking the line. Because the smallest misstep, Letecia's going to scream about it. The smallest misstep, if you're a CO in charge of Letecia at the jail, you're going to hear about it. The smallest misstep, see, it's all about what people are doing to her and nothing about the torture that she continues to put this family through with all of this, all of the theatrics and the shenanigans.
But there does have to come a time where enough is enough.
Right.
And it is a very fine line between saying enough's enough and overstepping her constitutional rights. So if they give her their constitutional rights and it still continues, the judge needs to, no, we're done. We're done here. We're setting a trial date.
Right.
Get your motions in before the pretrial. Anything you want to bring up, let's get it done. But we're setting a date and we're going forward.
Right. Well, and
once this is done,
as soon as the report from the second evaluation comes back, which will be 30 days after the evaluation, which will take about 2 weeks from start to finish. And then 30 days after that to get the report. As soon as we get that report, that trial date's going to be set.
Yeah.
So at least we have that to look forward to.
Hopefully, depending on how this report comes back.
No, they have to, by statute.
By statute, they do, but we don't know what's going on. We thought after the last one, we were going to set a trial date. You know what I mean?
It's a relatively new statute, and that's what caused some of the confusion in court. Do we set the trial date immediately after receiving the first sanity evaluation? And the defense argued no, and the prosecution agreed, and that speedy trial is told. But speedy trial, that clock is only stopped until that second evaluation comes back.
That's right.
And that's when, by statute and according to the rules of speedy trial, those trial dates will need to be set.
Unless the defense stops the clock. If the prosecution has to proceed, They don't get no stopping of the clock. The only time that clock stops for speedy trial is if the defense does something to delay that speedy trial. Then the clock starts over again. That's how
Okay.
speedy trial works.
Mhm.
So if the defense turns around and says, you know, like say this comes back that this doctor says she's competent and the defense wants something else done now, they stop the clock. The prosecution can't do that, but the defense can. The defense at any time can stop that clock. The defense at any time can come and say, you know what, we're now waiving our right to a speedy trial at any time because now we want to do this, 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 and this.
They could.
They could at any
It's not
time.
likely in this case because
Let's
they
hope
want to keep
not.
speedy trial a thing because that's something that works to the benefit of their defendant, sort of, but it also works to the benefit of the prosecution because the longer this thing is delayed, the more time Michael Allen has to build this case.
Yeah.
And come up with rebuttals for the, you know, and I guess that's why it was so important to me to get this information out there about the doctor. You know, I'm not breaking the news, so to speak. The judge is the one that put out her name, and it was in a public trial. And so, you know, I didn't see anybody else kind of pick it up. And I felt like it was important that
Public hearing.
we start
Trial
looking
hasn't
into
happened
her
yet.
immediately.
Don't worry, you guys. You
What's
said
that?
public trial. It was a hearing. It's not the trial, you guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, I misspoke.
So
Sorry.
yeah, I mean, the judge put it out there. I think that was an oops because I don't think they wanted it out there. But
Well, the defense didn't want it out there, but the judge had every right to put it out there.
well,
And he did it in a super classy way.
Yeah.
And he knows
Yeah.
that they wanted to suppress it, the defense, because
Well, they didn't even want the judge knowing it.
Right.
So it's like,
And
you want me
during
to
the last
order
hearing,
something
he
and we'll
didn't
just
know
put what, Jane Doe on it?
Right. But since he didn't have to order anything, and ordering the EEG, they thought they could do without putting the doctor's name out there.
That's right.
So I guess to me, and I don't have a full understanding of why it's so important, but it was obviously important for them to suppress that information to the best of their ability. And they just
Well,
simply
because
were
people
unable
like
to.
us are gonna look up this doctor, and
Right.
we're gonna see exactly what their motives are for this doctor, for
Right.
wanting this specific doctor, and for wanting to keep it hush hush, so people can't put things together. Because once it's out on YouTube and everybody starts seeing it, that includes potential jurors. They're going to
Right.
be able to, before they're ordered not to, look into this doctor or hear about this doctor and what she believes. Is that going to taint? Maybe.
Right. Well, I guess that's why I really want to know, and I'm curious as to why we haven't heard much about whether or not she'll get a bench trial. Because if
Yeah.
she gets a bench trial, all bets are off. We don't have to worry about mistrial or tainting the jury pool or anything else, because the jury pool is the judge in that case.
That's right.
And, you know, he's who we're getting the information from. So no harm, no foul.
That's right. So, okay, well, with that, I want to thank you, Crime Curious, for coming and being on panel and giving us your insights. And you guys be sure to watch out for her book that will be coming out as soon as we can get this Letecia trial done and over
Okay.
with. It's going to be called Crime Curious, Colorado Case Files by Jennifer Knight. She will probably have it up on pre-order when she's almost ready to go. Watch out for that. Check it out. I'm going to be actually, it's in the comments too, the link to her channel. She has a YouTube channel, Crime Curious. Go on over there, give her a like, subscribe, and let's keep an eye on what's going on. Let's stay in touch, and let's see what happens in October. I'm anxious to hear it.
Well, I will be there in person, and I will let you know what happens.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, you guys, we're going to wrap this up. And again, I want to thank Jen, Crime Curious, for coming on and sharing her insights and, you know, what she's been putting together. And I hope you guys have got some information from that you didn't know before, especially as doctor. Look into that doctor. Really look into that doctor and let me know what you think about her in the comment section below. Okay, so until next time, you guys, Please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Love you to the moon and back. Bye-bye for